Whoops. That means we're all gonna see the puzzle name for next week. Not if I do this. Alright. Stream should be live. People should be coming in soon. Hopefully. Yep, people coming in. Hey everyone.
Hello.
I'll drink some water first.
This week came up too fast. I'm not upset about the deadlines already, but I feel like I didn't spend nearly as many brain cycles on it as 6, which is obvious. And then as a result, I'm like, this is already over?
Yeah, compared to the previous week, this week felt extra short. Probably because we had like a lot of time last week.
Yeah, when did week 7 first come out?
Week 7 came
Been a
out 2
while,
weeks
right?
ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But, yeah, let me make sure there's no more last minute solves.
Was week 6 the long one then?
Week 6 was the one with 3 weeks.
Right.
Yeah. So, in comparison, week 7 probably just felt extra short. At least it wasn't cycles. That would have made this feel even more short. But yeah, so we should be good to start the stream. Has anybody posted a link in the Discord?
I'm just going to watch on Twitch, so it's fine.
I mean, like the stream link.
Oh, I see. Username Void just dropped it.
Just dropped it. Okay, yeah. I was wondering why there wasn't as many people. Okay. Okay, hi everyone. My Discord was way up there from last night, so I didn't know what was happening at the currently right now in the Discord. But yeah, so hi everyone. This is week 7 of the week 7 results stream of the tournament, and the puzzle we have this week is Potent Painkillers. I was almost gonna say Potent Potables.
I was about to hear it that way too.
Similar names. Anyways, Potent Painkillers, where you have to build 2 separate rings with different ratios of animismus. And the metrics were sum and area. The intention was, well, the intentions for area were that you had to dispose of extra vitae via throwing, outputting more of the smaller output more than the large output. And for some, there was a choice of, well, you had 7 salt, so you had to choose like how many salt you wanted to use. But in the end, it kind of more of turned out like people used 2 salt for animismus, and the rest of it were for convenience. It's kind of how
Are we starting with area or sum?
Sum. I don't think most people would. Oh yeah, we'll be starting with sum. And I believe most people use 1 salt for area.
Have you looked at many of the sum solves yet?
I've looked at most of them a few days ago, I think, the day before yesterday. So
I'm interested to see, because it seems like there could be a lot of sharing of ideas, because there's like a natural split into 2 different halves.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see how that sort of gets mixed and matched.
Mm-hmm. Oh wait, we have Steven this week.
Myself.
Yo, we have Steven this week. So, starting off in 34th place, we have Steven. I have not seen the Steven solve. Basic period 4. Nice track loop. Oh, right, Steven just had to. Yeah. Had to put the small ring inside the large ring.
Is that pivot glitch that I'm seeing on the track?
On the track? I don't think so.
Because there's a tri-arm that pivots, and there's also a track that has pivoting arms, but I'm not sure.
I think they're just handing off pivots.
Yeah, they might just be doing
Yeah, they're
pivots
handing off pivots.
all counterclockwise, so it's not an issue about pivot glitch.
Yeah, also calcifier does nothing, but I provided it for the puzzle anyways because it's fun to just throw around. You can use it as equilibrium area. I mean, cost counts as a metric, but like cycles does most of the job as its secondary. Yeah, just a classic for 4-cycle loop cell from Steven, with weird output positions that usually doesn't happen at this speed. Welcome back, Steven.
Thank you, Steven, for blessing us with Steven Solve.
Mm-hmm. Will we see a solve for you in week 8? If Steven is around. Yeah, next up we have in 33rd place, I believe this is also a sum solve. Yeah, it's 132 area, can't be an area solve. B. Smith at 726 sum. New solution 1. So this one has 2 animismus glyphs. And uses only 3 of the salt atoms.
Yeah, so I guess the question that I considered when starting Sum is, do you want to have 2 animismus glyphs at all? If the answer is no, then you can really cut down on the number of salts and arms that you will want. And I'm pretty sure that 2 animismus glyphs is just always going to be too expensive.
Yeah, it's not just the cost of the animismus glyph itself, it's all the arms that have to handle those salt emmors as well.
Yep, you're promising minimum 60 gold. And if you're just using the min cost layout of animismus, you won't go fast, so you're probably promising at least 80 gold by placing a second animismus. And that 80 gold cannot be used to make up 80 cycles in a layout that was like mine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I never even thought of using 2 animismus. That's interesting.
I mostly just wanted to rule out the possibility so that I could feel confident that 1 animismus was okay.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
just make sure you're confident in your ideas.
1 missed assumption can hurt your tournament performance a lot.
Mm-hmm. Goodbye Galaxy says he considered 2 anime being fit by 2 bi-arms. But
True, yeah, Galaxy's talking about if you use 2 arms that are doing both animismus at the same time, then it's not as expensive. But yeah, it's a pipe dream.
yeah. You also get a lot of salt to do that. Zorfax, I don't know if Zorfax submitted. Zorfax has sent me a solve though, and if Goodbye Galaxy wants to have a friendly competition with Zorfax, you can post the solve later. Since Goodbye Galaxy's been talking about finally having a proper sub competition with Zorfax. And okay. Alright. Next up we have in 32nd place at a drop in sum 669 Glass Lady. Did I miss the button? Yeah, that was F. That was F9 instead of F10. Okay. A solve.
Hey, there are arms inside the big ring input.
Yeah. That's a thing you can do.
You can't put an arm inside the little input because anything that you try to get around it will crash.
It seems like
It's very sad.
Glass
But
Lady definitely tried though.
the big input there, you can put an arm inside it and have it be useful to the sun.
It seems that R7 wants to be inside the product of the small ring, except it notices that, wait, I can't, and you throw it to the side. It's also
interesting that
avoiding
ARM10 isn't used for output, I guess to reduce the tape length.
Yeah.
ARM10 can output, but is it more expensive if ARM10 does output? Not expensive, is it more like cycles slow? Because that's already the limiting arm. If
It
you
also
add
needs like
cycles,
2
it's
extra
gonna be
cycles,
25. Yeah.
since
If it
it's
takes you
not
4 more cycles on the loop because of doing that, then you've added 25. And I guess you're using 30 gold and getting rid of that, so 30 cycles costly. Yeah, Goodbye Galaxy says it. It can't be 30 cycles worth of cost just to have ARM10 exist. Or 11 exist.
It is ARM10 that's limiting. Yeah, it's ARM10 that's limiting. Well, that's six sum shape right there.
And also, Glass Lady is a minus user. The first action that an arm on a track uses being minus. It's just a different way of playing the game. Zorflax, I don't understand how you are a proponent of this when you have so many other good opinions.
Zorflax, the supporter of minus instructions and no return commands. Yeah, we're down to one animismus glyph now. So, so the main challenge of this puzzle is that you start. Sometimes you start. A lot of people have told me that sometimes you start building the large ring and then you notice, wait, the small ring's the difficult one. Large ring is actually in comparison easier.
Yeah, I think I agree with that.
Yeah, the small ring has a challenge. It's a different kind of challenge, but it's a very important challenge to get.
Mostly with
One
stuff.
thing to note with one animismus glyph, you're now kind of guaranteeing that you can't have an output faster than every 18 cycles from the big ring, because you can't make mores faster than once every 3 cycles, which gives you a speed limit that's a lot nicer to have than the cycles limit.
Alrighty, next up, we have in 31st place at 584 sum, so I guess the 6 sum wouldn't have mattered. Well, maybe in a few metric points it would, but yeah. Britboy in 31st place. Britboy is not the bottom 2.
So this tech with the 2 6 arms opening up the animismus and then also moving their pieces off is what I meant when I said 80 gold for an animismus. Because this seems like the most effective way for 2 arms to handle animismus and move Vitae towards one side of the board and Mors towards the other.
It looks like the more side of this could be a 3 cycle loop because it's like wanding away that Mors.
Yep, and that's why 18 was the limit here for the speed. Unfortunately, though, Vitae, the 6 arm can't ever dispose of it, so you have to wand it all away and then maybe dispose it again later or use it all for outputs. Vitae side gets really ugly if you try to push it down to 18.
I think this is also the first solve with the disposal.
No, the previous one, Glass Lady had a disposal.
Oh, there was? I didn't know.
She disposed of Vitae at the very top of the solution.
Okay, yeah. Forgot about that. This one does seem like a much more efficient V-tape ring building though. But yeah, next up we have in 30th place at 577 sum, Chickens in the Attic. That is a toss all. There's Critelli? Okay. I believe Critelli is area that is not used.
Oh, that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
chat pointing out that there was an arm in Brit Boys that could have been a regular arm instead of a hex arm. And in fact, the 10 sum that cost did matter. So I like this solve. I like the 6 cycle arms that are moving a bonded Vitae and a bonded Mors.
6.
The speed that this goes because of the every 6 Animismus proc is a little bit slower, and so it's a lot easier to make 2 of the Vitae rings.
Oh.
Yeah, you can get that 5 cycle like loop that you wish you could do with just one swing from the middle.
Yeah, the pivot and slide, or slide and pivot.
Right, exactly.
I feel like the Mors bonding looks like the ring inversion cycle, or the ring inversion solve, where two things that are at one angle to each other invert their angle to each other. It's very pretty. Yeah, Zorflax saying the same.
A lot of people have compared this puzzle to Elemental Dual Setting, but a lot of people have also compared this solve to Ferris Wheel from the weeklies.
Yeah, one of my titles for a solution was like Ferris Wheel, but with anime.
So, fun fact, this puzzle was made like before Ferris Wheel existed. That's how old this puzzle is. So, like, the similarities was entirely a coincidence.
No, I didn't. Apparently there's also a Space Chem puzzle called Ferris Wheel that I didn't know about that existed before OM Ferris Wheel, so...
Yeah, I searched
plagiarized from...
Ferris Wheel in the Discord, and it was like, oh, Space Chem wall text. Not expect that.
Yeah, so basically I unconsciously plagiarized 2 puzzles I had never known about before to make mine, sorry.
What did the Ferris Wheel in Space Chem look like? Was it just a ring of, like, how much is it? 12 iron?
I didn't look.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I fully expect it to be a ring of iron now, because that's the only real reason the name could exist.
Yeah. Except ours had a little extra Quicksilver. Yeah. Next up, we have in 29th place at 564 sum, Abby. With the just a no on their solution. Okay, so 2 Animismus glyphs.
Oh, what's the intention here? This is a very interesting decision.
2 Animismus glyphs is the intention, I guess.
Yeah, but are you even running them faster than you could run 1 Animismus glyph with less pain? I think it's 6 cycles between feeding each one, and then an extra 5 cycles of waiting. So that's 23 cycles to get an output, and the rate that you can do with 1 is 18.
It's using all the salt, though.
Oh yeah, using all the salt. That's pretty good.
And I do like the look, because like Hex Arm 4 is running as fast as it can, 5 is wanting. Like 3 is grabbing both Vitae and handily disposing one of them while placing the other one in location.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's a good point. This is still very good and pretty.
There's a lot of cool stuff here.
Arm 6 looks like it tried to like build the ring entirely around it and then noticed it couldn't.
Was it Catspin who made like a relatable arm GIF in a cabinet puzzle that was doing like hex stabilized salt?
Yeah, I believe it was Catspin.
And then just like spun around and got sad.
Uh-huh.
Yes, Catspin, you have created personified arm in a good way.
It's
that
just
happens
trying
a lot.
its best.
I'm pretty sure most people did that in Life Sensing Potion when they first played it.
My first playthrough was Cycles. I was 2 away from Min on Life Sensing Potion, but it was definitely not with a ring.
Life Sensing Potion has definitely become easier after we developed Cycles Theory.
Yeah, now that you just know, okay, working backwards, you have to place these 2 multi-bonders and move Animismus in this specific way.
I solved it at 40 minutes, I think, Min Cycles.
we're spoiled by our new theories.
Whereas before it took me like forever to get a +4 cycle solve. I don't know. I tried to get 4 through, but that was basically it. Yeah. This is half of this puzzle is pretty much a life-sizing potion. Sort of, in a way. Yeah, in 28th place we have at 561 some Buttermilk Donut. A very simple solve. With only 2 salts. We're at the other end of the spectrum now.
This looks very inspired by the life-sensing potion solution.
Oh, Alright, because that one only had 2 water. Oh wait, no, that's invisible ink.
Yeah, but it
I was thinking of
has the
invisible
same
ink.
arm passing off bonded things. It's a little different, but it's
Uh-huh.
passing off the bonded salted things. I guess the cycle count suffers a lot though because you're running animismus so infrequently.
Oh, the pun in the in the solution name. I did not notice that. A little something is better than nothing.
Puns seem to be a divisive topic in the community.
I think the score isn't better is because the salt has to be picked up from through the animismus.
It takes 8 cycles to proc the animismus,
Yeah, that's pretty slow.
which means 8 times 36, right? Yeah, to get the output. And that cycle count is going to make some pretty hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not that much cheaper. You see some of these later solves.
Yeah. Alrighty.
Somehow. There's a lot of bonders, yeah.
Oh yeah. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, 5 bonders. Okay, next up we have in 27th place at 553 some Cuckoo 52. That's is what they call the soft. That
Oh, no, there's a disposal position.
that disposal's not gonna do
I thought
anything.
people might do that. I thought it was looking funny. It's a great idea for aesthetics.
I don't think there are many things you can fit inside the large ring. You can actually
Arms, inputs, all 7 of them.
Yeah.
Animismus, disposal, the other output.
yeah. Several things you can fit inside. Okay, so this is fast.
Is it?
Well, looks pretty fast.
It's
Yeah.
loading the animismus not every 4 cycles because there's a.
Oh,
more
right, there's a
is
delay.
blocked because of the
Yeah, the
rest of the
Vita is
ring.
lagging behind, yeah.
The VT constructor is now fast enough. Small ring
It
strikes
looks like
again.
it's 6 plus 7 plus 7 on arm 5 to make 1 ring, so double that, and you'd get 40 for 1 output.
Arm 5 could load the first Vitae with a swing.
Ooh.
That bugs me.
I feel like the
Yeah,
solution
like-
could be improved by taking the disposal out and using it to clear off some of those Vitae.
Impossible. That would not be an improvement, that would be a complete failure of the solution's idea.
Clearly.
It's a good thing the disposal actually doesn't take up extra area either. All the area will be used as well. Even if the disposal wasn't there. Yeah, next up, we have in 26th place, at 1 sum cheaper, Well, better. Want some better than this solution?
Oh,
Caspin.
She
552.
was saying in chat her last couple hours of shaves made a huge difference. One more person took
Nice.
the Cuckoo 52 took the brunt of that one too.
Mm. Interesting choice of Critelli.
Is this 6 teeth? I'm wondering why the instruction tape is so long.
No, it's not, apparently.
It's 2 teeth, she says. Okay.
Okay. 2T on the Morse ring or 2T on the Vitae ring?
It must be on the Moore's ring. I
Let
can't
me
see
check.
why it is.
Oh, it is. Weird.
She says scroll to the right and you can see. I was just looking at the conditional pivot arm 3 and wondering, oh, why is this thing pivoting? Does it have a reason?
I do not see. Which arm is making the difference?
Arm 4 is period 9 on the last one. So there's one extra motion because you have to deliver.
Okay. Also, another choice when it comes to this puzzle is, do you want to dispose of the extra vitae or do you want to just make another output?
In area, the answer is always make another output.
Well, yeah, but in some, it's harder to decide.
There's a question.
I think it was Madmaster that messaged me when they noticed, wait a minute, I don't need a disposal for area.
I think that's what Pentapig was asking with do you remember? Because that's just basically, I don't need a duplication for area because I can just make more of the other output to offset it.
Yeah, but it's more obvious in this puzzle.
I hope so. I was wondering if it might not be.
I believe most people have not used the disposal solve for the area solves. I don't know about the last minute submissions though. I woke up this morning and it was extreme
one area
time.
by using disposal. Take that.
Alright, next up we have in 25th place, at 539 sum, slight drop, a new chart. This seems okay. We started in 34th place, so oh yeah, this is a bit on the bottom half. It does look like a clean solve though.
It seems like arm 3 with its 5-cycle loop is determining how fast the solution moves.
Yeah.
And then it has to move it onto a tri-bonder, which is also rather expensive.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a good solve. It's clean.
Yeah. Clean is good. Most of the time, whether the way you determine if a subsolve is good is if it looks clean, and if it looks improvable, which is very vague.
I think arm 7 is also in a 5-cycle loop. And it has to be a 2-arm.
Yeah, arm 7
so
is a
it doesn't
5-cycle
bleed
loop. Yeah, this is limited by arm 3 and arm 7. It's not quite fast enough to go 3 cycles at max animismus speed. Yeah, but yeah, slower is cheaper though.
You apparently, Mr. Puzzle, caused a bit of a stir when you made an ALMAO 420 joke. It had nothing to do with some.
It had nothing to do with some. It's hilarious. It was interpreted that way though, because like if you look at like the things I edited out, it was 420 was in the area slot, And also, sum is not a standard metric displayed by the game.
Yeah.
And you were saying when you were optimizing secondaries and
Yeah,
to
I
go
said
faster. So
optimizing
it's clearly about area.
Isn't it? Is it secondaries instructions?
Yeah. But sometimes you might even want to go 6T just because you can load the first animismus faster or something.
Uh-huh.
Trying to make it go faster would be improving primary or something.
Yeah.
Not second.
Unless you made sacrifices that exactly match up. Though it doesn't make a difference in that much of a difference here since the secondary isn't Psycho's gold or area. Zorfax came up with the idea of instruction secondary for some. I quite like it. Alright, in 24th place we have at 532 some Topo Mouse. That is a very similar solve. I had to double check that this wasn't the same solve.
True, yeah, because it's now tri-arm instead of a bi-arm, but the way that the Moore's ring is assembled is almost identical, and it's period 5 in creation. The Vitae side is quite a bit different.
Yeah.
Instead of using a 6-arm at all, this is just a length 2-arm that sometimes puts the Vitae on the bonding station and sometimes puts it in the disposal.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is a good idea.
Yeah. It gives you a lot more time to actually build the Vitae ring. You could do it at half the speed.
It's a shame that salt loading into the animismus is on a track like that. Surely there's some way to make it a
Oh yeah.
just
Yeah,
a
you could
swing.
probably make a length 3-arm swing from below the disposal.
Mm-hmm.
Would that be? That's
Marcon is pulling that exact
no.
thing out in chat before I read it.
Can it? It's gonna hit the salt arm 4 is grabbing. Unless it's pulled at the exact same time.
I was thinking arm 2 would get placed bottom right of arm 6 and swing up to the left, loaded.
I was thinking it would be placed in its minus position and swing the salt that lives below the disposal.
Oh, okay, yeah, that works. We can try that out. Arm 2. Oh. That's what I get for tinkering.
Did you really just crash the game?
The modded version is has its issues.
I believe the problem is in incompatibility between Fitzgoo and ZoomMod.
Yeah.
Because I've had that happen as well. And
oh, hey, it's still there. Okay, it's certainly right for trying to use a return command. Oh good, no crashes between the Vitae arm and the input arm. Yeah. How much of a save is that? That's +3 area. No, +4 area. But minus 10 cost.
People also mentioning arms 1 and 3 can be combined as a 6-arm to save 8-ish more, but we're not tinkering now.
Yeah. It's a lot of tinkers.
All the relentless optimizers in chat being like, tinker more, tinker more.
We should just do a stream where someone's like, here's a puzzle and here's my shit solution, and everybody live on stream, we're gonna tinker it until it's better.
That'd be fun, actually.
Yeah. It could be one of those things Tulare was talking about. The Academy or something.
The Academy, yeah.
Yeah, next up we have in 23rd place at 521 some, Cavalier. I saw some 5 and was thinking, what's the 5th metric for some? For the solution name. Cost, cycles, area, instructions. What's the 5th one?
Input count.
Input count, sure. Multiply everything by input count.
Interesting. Arm 5 has a 6-cycle loop with a 6-arm. That makes some sense. It's a pretty good idea.
Mhm.
It limits the speed, though, which means that it has to be cheap enough to make up for that.
Arm 3 also looks pretty limiting.
Yeah, and ultimately that hex arm on a track is the same cost as 2 arms, so it kind of has to justify itself.
Mhm. Swinging across disposal. Mm.
Oh, I guess it does make that bond, though. Like, the bond between the Salt and the Moors wouldn't happen unless it was actually a 6-arm.
Also, yeah, the disposal is in a very convenient place to, like, save area.
That's true, and that's what people were trying to get you to tinker with the last one. I had the suggestion that I saw first, but this one is just better.
Okay, next up, we have a bit of a drop in sum. In 22nd place, 508 by Gecko. So, 2 animismus flips again.
Interesting. I guess because each arm that is handling an output has a different role. Like one is sending it to the disposal and one is sending it to the Vitae ring. And they wanted to have possible 8-cycle loops on arms 6 and 5. It's cheap enough because there's no track under so many of the arms that it doesn't have a huge penalty to pay for using 2 disposals.
Yeah. 2 animismus, I mean. Yeah, this one is operating at... what would be the speed for a single animismus clip? A maximum speed for a single animismus clip, I think?
Yeah, the main reason that you would want 2 anyway is because arms 6 and 5 would need to then be replaced by maybe a track loop or something that's a little bit more complexity.
And before 420 is actually only good enough for 15.
Big drops.
It's cool that the Vitae ring only uses 1 bonder.
Oh yeah. It's pretty low in, like, bonder count. But pretty high in arm count, though. Alright, next up, in 21st place, we have 504 sub, 42 Genius 42.
Yeah, he was calling it in chat. It's going to be either 21 or 20.
42 Genius 42 at 42 halves place.
I was thinking the same, but not quite the same wording.
Half of 42.
I like the 6-arm, arm 1 and arm 3 communicating to make the Moors ring.
Oh yeah, that little backwards hoppins.
I feel like there's a looping problem here that was solved inelegantly.
Also, oh, there's, yeah, there's,
'Cause there's a scroll that
seems
gets
to be
this
2
silly.
extra to the loop. Wonder where that's from. Arm 5. Where's arm 5?
I feel like it's one of those 6-arm things where it's like you have to do some setup at the beginning, but then it doesn't quite loop properly.
It's arm 5 that's the issue, actually. Oh,
Well,
it
no,
disposes
like,
of an extra salt.
yeah, Hex
Okay.
Arm 1
That's a hex arm thing then.
grabs the 7th salt because it's trying to output the 6th Moors.
Ah,
Right. It like needs to do the work of moving the Moors, but it pulls the salt sort of because it has to, and then Arm
But
5
then
has
can't
to
it
do
just
it.
rotate the other way instead of cause Arm 5 to need to be on a track?
maybe
If
that's
it
more
rotates the
expensive.
other way, that doesn't require anything.
That's
I think you could do that, yeah, and then it just suppresses the input when it swings back during the next loop.
Yeah, I think that saves 10 gold and maybe a few cycles.
I don't see the cycle speed shift, but
I have a stream. Sounds like Mad Master's issues are on their end.
oh no, it needs to be delayed even more.
Oh, you are tinkering. I couldn't tell because it was under the chat.
Oh, whoops. Right. How much do I have to delay the other direction grab for arm 1? That's quite a bit. Yeah, arm 1 needs to be delayed quite a bit, so that's a lot more cycles.
You could remove the drop, the last drop. That'll those cycles.
Well, Arm 1 needs to drop the last Moors that it picks up.
Oh yeah, it already does that.
Right.
Okay, so
Mr. Puzzle has the right idea, though. Yeah, you can remove the drop. I think there's also a 6T where you don't have to do anything like this. You can just load the animismus again, and Arm 2 makes Arm 1 work.
alright,
So
16.
you just 6 rotates per product. But it's not too worth tinkering, I think. There's a lot of risk to it, apparently, in Zoom mod.
Yeah, this is enough tinkering. I don't even know if this saves anything.
Yeah, we saved 5. We have 499 with this solution.
That's
Oh no,
minus...
two area as well. We're 497.
I
Minus
think
10
this is
plus
exactly
5
the
minus
same. It adds 12 and... it adds 12 and it's minus 12.
it adds only 5. Cycles is 187 and the previous is 182.
Oh, it was?
Unless I'm just misreading stream, but I think it's saved. Yeah, it has to
Alright,
end with
yeah.
a 7.
Yeah,
497.
you can actually just compare to the... Okay. I forgot it, like, the previous stats were just on screen. Yeah, so this is a save thing. Does it matter? Very much. Next up, in 20th place, we have at 503, Guilty Bystander.
Does it matter very much is one of the hardest things to stomach.
How much was the sum after tinkering?
497, but there was definitely room for more after that too. just by going-
497. That would have been 19th place. So 2 placements.
I love the name of this solution, by the way.
I like how all the arms are seemingly moving on the same cycle. It's pretty
Oh.
satisfying. Except 7.
Arm 7 has to
7's
do
the
with
only one
extra
on the track,
output.
too.
Yeah.
Madmaster asking about tri-bonders. Well, this is not the first tri-bonders we've seen. I know that at least No Charge Solution had them, and I think others did too.
Tri-bonders are useful for the small ring.
For the smaller one. This one also uses it for the Moors ring, which is
Yeah.
not always the case. I think this might be the first one to use it for the Moors ring, but I haven't been specifically paying attention to that.
Yeah. That is a very convenient way to build a VT ring, though.
Mm-hmm.
It looks almost like TI Tech.
Yeah, 2 rotates by arms on opposite sides of it will do the 120 rotation.
Alrighty.
Good looking solution.
Okay, next up we have in 19th place at 499 sum, Jalair. instead of 500. Oh, suppression.
Arm 6 is really nice
Uh-huh.
with the suppression, yeah. This is quite inexpensive, and it manages to be in a good footprint too, so...
Mm-hmm.
I had not thought that this cycle count was going to be relevant here, but this is pretty fast for what it is doing, and it's very good.
Yeah. I wonder what's the smallest subzol we received. This was 71 area.
Mine was in the 70s, but it was higher than this.
Others solves the 69 area. Okay.
69, hell yeah.
Right, I remember receiving a lot of those with 69.
Nice.
Because I like to point them out whenever people send me solves the 69 area. Alrighty, next up we have in 18th place at 493 sim. Hello Jasper. That is a larger solution. Oh wait, we probably could have rotated that. I'm gonna do that then.
We got a multi-bonder for Moore's ring and not for Vitae ring on this one.
Oh. It's using the two arms to rotate 120 degrees though.
It's also only making Vitae half the time. It's
Uh-huh.
using arm 6 to dispose of the rest of it. It's pretty cool then that arm 5 actually gets to be on an 8 cycle loop and do a lot of good work as a 6 arm.
Yeah.
Because the other Vitae is being just grabbed away.
Disposing of every other Vitae means you get a lot more time to build the Vitae ring.
Yeah. So, I'm looking at the cycle counts on a lot of these because I thought that it would come down to basically, yeah, you just have to go at the rate that Animismus lets you go. And if you're using Animismus every 4, that's 144 plus latency. If you're using it every 3, it's 108 plus latency. I'm just wondering how relevant those numbers will be. This is one of the ones that's in the 144 plus latency group.
Yeah. I haven't been paying attention when I looked at the solves. So I'm not sure if the best solves are like fast or are they cheap. Alrighty, next up, in 17th place, we take a tiny bit of a drop into 484 by YX Web. Oh, huh. This one looks visually different. Acromane.
Yeah, what is Army doing?
That is
That's
interesting.
wild.
Similar to Two-Layer's input suppression, but it's instead of suppressing, it's grabbing to move it away as it suppresses. I guess it still is suppressing. That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
There's a nice triangle track loop in there too.
Yeah.
This is super pretty. I like this solve a lot.
Mm-hmm. It's probably pretty area efficient too. It's 74. It looks compact.
It looks compact because the stuff that dangles off to the right isn't as obvious until you press 2.
Yeah. People keep thinking 420 is actually going to win.
I like how it delays dropping the Vitae on the disposal.
Oh, what was that?
It makes no difference. It just looks cool, I guess.
Yeah. Maybe it's for the repeat length reasons.
No, it
No.
can be completely avoided and just done at its own pace, so might as well do it when it wants to.
I mean, if you wanted to make like the repeat command just longer.
I see.
You could have also done that. So that it's easier to know where to place the next VP command.
The statement was made the way it was, and you just changed the statement list.
There you
Completely
go.
different solution.
The power of undo. Alright, next up we have in 16th place at 479 Sim, Madmaster. Now with 500% more instructions, somebody made a 60 solve.
Yeah, I had one that was in the 480-ish range that was 60. Because you load the first animismus with 6 arms, and it's a little faster to do it 3 cycles after instead of 4 cycles after. It was basically a very similar solve to this.
Uh-huh.
This
I'm
is nice. I
guessing
love these 6 arms, including the ones handling animismus. And it clogs up.
it's outputting multiple animismus, so it just stops doing it to save instructions. No, it's outputting more vitae, so it just stops outputting vitae in the end to save instructions.
Yep.
Because instructions is still secondary, and when you're 60, you can start to cut corners.
Yeah, I think instruction secondary when you believe you can save a sum by going 60 makes it kind of more inelegant, because then you start just like causing arms to not reset, and if their jobs are done, just the only goal is don't crash.
Usually the instruction secondaries don't matter though.
Yeah. And if you're doing 60, it's unlikely you're going to be in a close battle.
Okay, I say usually.
Oh, are you about to show a 479 with 802 instructions?
No, I mean, but it is still 479 though. On the solve we talk about 60, it actually matters that there's a solve that's presumably 1T. That's also 479 sum, but with 136 instructions in 15th place, we have Tweedledee.
Now with 20% as many instructions.
Looks like a very similar idea. Is this symmetric?
I really like how Arm 4 gets to build 4/6 of the output ring,
Ooh.
but it then takes 2 arms to fix up the rest of it.
Oof. 2 arms isn't too much though.
Yeah, though if you look at their instruction tape, they are pretty... Like, it's the kind of thing you feel like you should be able to do in one arm, just looking at the instruction tape.
Yeah, but you're making 2 vitae rings, so it becomes extra important that you don't make something inefficient for that part for time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there is a little bit of overlap there, so it's probably just impossible.
Oh, there's 7 arms. Okay. Yeah, arm 5 seems pretty full. But it's just a lot of waiting.
Goodbye Galaxy, you have no right to claim that the vitae ring can't hold the center of the telly. It's a valid place and it's pretty.
Goodbye Galaxy is the... Goodbye Galaxy has definitely been promoting anti-Critellism now.
Oh, I love the Arm 1. I just noticed this. Arm 1 takes its salt from the other side on the 6th one so that it gets out of the way of a rotation.
Mm-hmm.
That's really pretty. That's just one little extra bit of coolness. This solve is good, and Tweedledee should feel good.
Yeah. 15th place. 15th place is better than half. Better than the median. Alright, next up we have at 477 sum in 14th place, Hexen. Hex Arm's expensive.
I'm sure glad I brought mine down from 480 because that was an afterthought of like I should probably try to look at some again.
Uh-huh. I saw that you tried to do that with Area as well. I didn't know if you actually submitted an improvement or not this morning.
Oh, I didn't submit anything. It's. I found a layout that I was so frustrated with and didn't work.
Ugh. Okay, this is a different VT ring assembly than what we've been seeing.
Yeah, I guess both arms have the ability to pivot whatever they're holding.
Mhm.
So you can build the Vitae heavy half and the Salt heavy half. This is cool. Oh yeah, they're referring to it as shell assembly, which makes sense.
Huh?
Just that 3 plus 3 equals a ring, similar to what shells were for week 2.
Oh, right, yeah. Alrighty, next up we have in 13th place at 473 sum, not great. Which every time I say not great, I keep on thinking that they think their solution is not great, but it's actually their username that's called not great. ARM6 takes a sweet time outputting.
It's a 6T because ARM6 will output the last one quickly. But its first 5, it's just trying to keep the machine moving.
Oh, yeah,
6T, yep. Well, that makes sense though.
Doesn't matter for this particular sum though.
It seems like a lot of people decided that the way to get animismus handled was to use either a pair of 6 arms or a 6 arm on one of them and a non-6 arm on the other.
Uh-huh.
But it really does work because it moves Vita to one part of the solution and Morris to the other, which means
Yeah.
you can just kind of build each output separately. You're not salt limited because you have input abundance.
And like, Hex Arms and Animismus are conveniently limited to 3 cycle loops. BS Collision is the one that ends up ruining the solve, apparently.
It would eventually fail for other reasons, I'm sure.
Mhm.
But yeah, the 6T thing saves 6 sum according to Game Making is Fun, aka not great.
Oh wow, that's actually quite a bit. 6 sum would've... 6 sum worse would've put it in the 479 bracket we had
Oh
earlier.
yeah, one of them is the same as was on Mad Masters, of loading the first animismus faster. And then the rest are the Vitae pause getting rid of on the 6th one.
Yeah.
And I guess the Moore's ring also gets output faster.
Oh. Alrighty, next up we have in would-be 13th place at 468 sum, Panic. H.
I beat Panic on some. That's kind of surprising. I think of Panic as like a sum board.
Yeah, Panic's really good at sum.
Yeah, I guess I didn't. I'm interested to see who beat me. I haven't looked at any of them, so I guess this is something that I'm missing.
How did Panic?
I
Yeah,
do like the Ferris wheel idea of one bonder that is on the other side of the 6 arm that you just have to spin over a few times to make it work.
Yeah, it's sad that you need to spin like a couple more times to finish the bonds, though. It kind of hurt my cycles.
Yeah. It makes cycles worse.
How
This
much?
is a little cheaper than mine, but mine's quite a bit faster.
What placement did Panic get for Soothing Solve Zone?
For which one?
Soothing Solve? Week 2?
Oh, I think it was like
Second,
3 or
third?
something? I don't remember. Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
second. I don't know.
Panic has been playtesting some for me though. I kind of have not been playtesting the some because, well, I'm bad at some.
Yeah, you got Shadow Cluster for area and Panic for some. You're standing on the shoulders.
My puzzle consultants have been very helpful.
I want to compete, otherwise I would be a cycles consultant.
Yeah, I have Grimmy for that.
Yeah, I was just about to put in chat, like, every year, Tournament Master is inducted into the Hall of Consultants.
Do more playtesting, because I'm not good enough at the game. I playtest some of my solves. It's not some of my puzzles. Namely, I'm pretty proud of my week 8 TI solve. Submit for week 8. Compete with my TI solve.
Eventually.
Alright, next up, we have in 12th place at 467 some. Biggie.
Yeah, I wasn't too far away.
Yeah. Beating Panic by 1 some.
This is a 24 loop. It was going to be a 21 loop with a different solution, but I didn't. I saved more gold than I lost in cycles when I switched it to a 24.
Uh-huh.
I like the salts that are just there for decoration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a 7 salt solution, but like 2 of them
It
are
does
grabbed
place
and...
them all, and it doesn't cause a problem to place them all.
Uh-huh. What happens if you put like 2 of these here?
So one of them will cause a crash, the other won't. But if I couldn't put them both there, I didn't want to put either of them there.
Oh, okay, that crashed. Okay. So instead it's being used for crit heavy.
Yep, exactly. I'm curious what beats this, because I couldn't find anything that was better. Goodbye Galaxy suggesting just go slower. I don't want to go slower.
Biggie's the psycho solver. Going slow is bad.
For some reason, I thought mine was 463, so when you said 467, I was like, oh cool, there's another one that's not me. I just misremembered my number.
Speaking of cycle solves though, cycles were originally one of the considered metrics for this puzzle.
That makes sense, because you gave us 7 souls.
Yeah. I did receive a min cycle solution as for showcase. And I personally made a min +1 myself.
Well, in terms of podium dreams, I might have to hope my area solve is better than I expect, but this week did not feel like one I would be doing well on, so this happens.
Yeah. Alrighty, in 11th place we have 464 some Fiesta. Turn back the clock. Oh yeah, when's daylight saving time? When is daylight saving time starting? Rolami's saying nice, top 10 with the last 7-hour solve.
This uses 2 more track, but 1 fewer bonder than mine.
Oh.
Has the exact same cycle count and then comes out ahead on area.
Oh. Sometimes being area cautious is pretty helpful as well. Or just getting lucky with the layout. Saving 1 more area.
Yeah, I couldn't find a way to save area in mine because the construction of the Moore's Ring was most of my extra area, and it was just impossible not to do those swings.
Those swings cause those like extra 2 area that you see over there. Around the ring construction. Sometimes you can save it by putting arms there. Because it won't crash into it would crash into atoms, but not into arms. Zorflex says this looks 60able with a Moore's Ring, huh? Is Morse the limiting one? Oh wait, yeah. What am I saying, dude? Wait. Vita is being disposed, so not sure if Morse is actually the limiting one.
I feel like you could save one area by moving that C-shaped track to the bottom and making the arm with 2. Not to
Okay, Morse is the
tinker.
limiting one.
Oh, that
I'm
doesn't
not-
save any area in the end.
Yeah, I'm not
okay.
sure if moving 7 save area, but I think you might be able to save a track by putting it somewhere in a spot and having it take a little bit longer to work.
Yeah, I think DS has tried most of the positions to put the U track.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Zorflex is pointing out that the final Morse could probably do 1 new cycle for 1 or 2 cycles faster. Would that matter? It depends on if it's 1 or 2 cycles. And even then, it might not.
It would be 6T if it did that, so...
Yeah, and the next up, is 462. With 2 people
yeah,
at
so
462.
unless that's also 6T.
Yeah, there's one that's also 6T. But there's one that's not 6T. So, it's hard to tell if, like, 2 cycle shapes would have made a difference or not. Murakana is saying their first song is top 10.
And I imagine he dropped it from there.
Alright, next up we have in 10th place at 462 sum and 684 instructions we have username boy. That is a fast Vita ring construction.
I see the 6T at the very beginning, yeah, the first 2 loads.
Mhm.
Yeah, wow,
This
it's able to get
ring
that
is
whole
really
ring.
slow.
Oh, yeah.
Oh!
Wait, what is it doing now?
Oh, I guess the Vitae ring was slowing it down, so it's able to go faster if it makes an extra bunch of waste, as long as it doesn't cost area.
Yeah. I wonder if it does cost any area though.
I imagine there's the trade-offs were already all checked out.
I'm curious if
Supposedly-
there was more area, how
supposedly-
much it would be.
Supposedly adds one.
One more area.
There it was.
Yeah, it only increases 1 area.
The area was so nice.
Oh, what did it used to be 69?
It was 69, and then they switched it to 70.
Yeah, I don't know if username boy sent me the 70 area solve. Like this solve, but they did send the 69 one.
Now that I see these 6 arms where you can just make their held Moors or Vitae into 2 atom things, that seems better. Seems better than what I did. I used a 6 arm for that purpose.
Alrighty, next up we have, also at 462 sum, at 142 instructions, so not 60, Rolami. But also congratulations to username Void for getting 10th place and Rolami for 9th place. And also, we could start putting in predictions for top 3.
Spec 98, Ebenov, and Pentapig. I guess that's not giving Morakonda enough credit. I'd love to see more in the top 3 as well.
Yeah. What's Mr. Puzzle's predictions?
I don't know. I'm honestly feeling pretty excited, but that excitement could easily disappear with a good drop.
Yeah. Also, I like the assembly with arm 6 on this.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. It's like actually doing the swing that you want to do up until the very last atom.
Yeah.
Didn't even think of doing it that way.
It's a very convenient way of doing it.
Six and 7 are pretty good.
Yeah,
I like
despite downloading the puzzle like 7 hours before the deadline. I wonder how much Rolami actually think about this puzzle beforehand, though. Because that's something that Rolami does, just thinks about the puzzle and then takes very little time actually making a solution.
I think comparing this one to mine, because I'm just going to start doing that to everything that beats me. Like, okay, how did it beat me? This one's just 10 gold cheaper because of the Vitae assembly. Everything else is very similar, but the 10 gold saved by using Triarm that way is the key insight.
Yeah, we're starting to get some pretty small shapes. Well, most small shapes. It's there might be a few drops here and there of like 5 or so sub. But yeah, next up we have in 8th place at 461 sub, Pioneer. Congratulations for getting 8th place. Zorflag says, disclaimer, their solve is probably not good enough for top 3. I'm not sure, I forgot what your sum was, where it submitted. This one's... So how does this compare to yours, B?
Yeah, it doesn't have any multi-arms, so it's kind of a different category.
Yeah.
It's got a more substantial deviation from mine that manages to still be 461. You can see that the arms devoted to Vitae are one arm on a track, one that's not on a track. And it's only using one bonder, so there's 10 gold saved there. And then I guess the assembly of the Moore's ring must save another 5 gold because it's got the triangle track.
Yeah.
It's mostly gold saves, but there's an extra 2 cycles per loop because you have an extra bit of time needing to reset after Moore's output. But that time is worth it.
Judging by the solution name, there probably used to be multi-arms. I wonder which ones that were actually multi-arms. Or was it an entirely different solution that had multi-arms?
Yeah, I do like the Moore's output, as Paxton is saying in chat. The triangle track.
Yeah.
It makes it very easy to make that linear, like 3-atom bond at the beginning.
Oh right, only 2 bonders for the entire solution. One bonder solution.
How many bonds do you need to make to solve the puzzle? I guess 6 plus 12 times 6. 108. Yeah, it'd be compatible with animismus use if you just bonder throughput. Animismus and bonders have the same max throughput here.
Time for Cycle's bonder metric. That probably would have been interesting, actually. But yeah, next up, we have in 6th place a tie.
Oh.
With 2 exactly same solutions.
Straight up tie.
Wow.
Oh.
With Goodbye Galaxy and Velvet Cane.
Ooh.
Was it Goodbye Galaxy who predicted pileup? It's funny that they are in the first tie.
So yeah, this is Goodbye Galaxy soft.
This looks a lot like really solution.
Yeah, Zorflex would have beat the Goodbye Galaxy. No, Zorflex didn't submit.
Zorflex promised himself he wouldn't submit because he was burning out of the tournament.
Yeah, you can still post your GIF in the Discord chat though, to prove that you would have done better.
Zorflex chose not to cause me to lose more points for my 12th place, which would have been 13th. Zorflex, you are complicit in anything that happens in the rest of the tournament with my score.
Zorfax is the anti-Seaver, makes great solves but doesn't submit them. Right, yeah, Vilvicane with the exact same solve has the exact same Critelli. Except that the only difference
That's
is mirrored.
That's an impressive collision in ideas. I love that. I love this.
It's just that it's mirrored. And like, arm numbering is a bit different. I guess it is like the best place to put the Critelli though. Apart from inside of the VK ring, but that's boring.
Could have tucked it away next to that multi-bond rep.
Oh yeah, that too.
Yeah, or where the VTA ring is curling around there next to the disposal. I think that would be a good place.
Mm. Oh yeah, that too. Impressive score collision. Yeah. Sometimes when you have just the same idea, you end up with the exact same solve. But yeah, next up in 5th place, we have at 456 sum, Andrej K. Congratulations for 5th place. And also let me rotate the solution so it fits better on the screen. Is this the first suppression Morse ring bonding sequence?
No, I think one of the ones just before had it.
Ah.
I don't know.
I remember noticing it.
Oh yeah, I guess Volcanes and Goodbye Galaxies did suppress the assault, but not for as many cycles as this.
Yeah.
Because these are doing the, like, you have to spin a bunch more times because of where you put the bonder.
Ah, yeah, it's 2 more cycles that it's being suppressed for.
Yeah, Finder says we've seen that tech before. It's very useful tech though. Yeah, Rolami had it too. Okay.
Using 2 different salt inputs to make the Vitae ring, so that the first one can start the process of positioning and then the second one adds subsequent salts. Really saved gold on the Vitae construction.
I think
And it
Paddock
also
does
means
that.
ARM 6, basically the period that has to be extended because of how ARM 4 does those extra spins allows ARM 6 to get away with what it's doing.
Ooh, yeah.
I think there's a lot of really cool things in Solution achieves. Nicely done, Andrej.
Yeah, this is definitely similar to mine, except it's like, what is the difference?
It's cheaper. It's
Yeah, I think that's the biggest
cheaper
thing.
than
It's cheaper, yeah.
15. Goodbye Galaxy chanting slower and cheaper. That's why I don't like. That's like, if some wants that, I don't do well with it.
Yeah. Alrighty, next up we have in 4th place at 451 sum, Ebanov, who is apparently really good at sum.
Yeah, I guess my predictions, Ebanov, Spect, Pentapig, and Mora are the last 4 remaining.
Mm-hmm.
One of them had to be unlucky and not make top 3.
Wait, where's Spec 98?
Is Spec not on the list?
Did I skip Spec 98? Or, I know they submitted, I think. Maybe not for some though.
Oh, right, I forgot Mr. Puzzle. Mr. Puzzle is still one of the remaining names.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's Crash, sorry.
I'm getting so excited. I have to calm myself down.
Wait a minute, where's Spec 98? Let me double check. Oh, they actually didn't submit. I thought I saw them submit. Or was that week 8?
Oh,
Dang.
sad.
Yeah, I don't see them on the list either.
Somebody saying that they wouldn't count out Specs in the final standings either. I think now you do.
Yeah.
I
Alrighty.
feel like this is the first solution with a hex arm feeding the animismus we've seen in a while.
Oh.
Yeah, they stopped coming. They were very common for a bit in the middle, and then they just stopped being relevant.
Uh-huh.
This one is, I guess, in the comparison to mine, this was just saving 10 gold outright and then also some cycles.
Yeah.
10 gold coming from me being silly and using a hex arm to feed the salt into the Moors side, when it could be this arm like this.
Oh. Alrighty, next up we have in 3rd place at 446 congratulations, Pentapig for getting 3rd place.
Pentapig in 3rd, alright.
Ooh.
Moraconda and Mr. Puzzle are the remaining 2 names.
Ah!
Oh, I love this Vitae. I love it's doing all those rotations.
Yes.
around.
Yeah, it's
Finally.
just 2 pivots, 2 pivots, 2 pivots, 2 pivots.
Finally.
This is beautiful. And it also runs at every 3 cycles.
Whoa.
Oh, it's 60.
I think this is achieving the 18 cycle loop that I was hoping to see.
Uh-huh.
But the way it makes Vitae work in that time is so much better than anything I had thought of.
Yeah.
Yeah, for some reason I was stuck on, when I tried things like this, having the 6-arm pull the Vitae off of the animismus as well. I don't know why.
I tried that and I didn't like how it worked. It just ruined everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This is
VK
brilliant.
Ring is definitely the limiter for this puzzle. For a lot of people.
Zorflax claiming that he had 1 point behind this, 447.
Oh, that would have been 4th place.
And Zorflax also bonded Vitae in this way.
Nice. Alright. Next up, in 2nd place, we take a 7-sum drop into 439 Moraconda, which puts Mr. Puzzle in 1st place.
I did
Nice.
it! Ah!
Oh.
Well done.
Ah!
Congratulations to Moraconda for 2nd place and Mr. Puzzle for 1st.
That's really close, though.
Yeah.
Congrats, Mora.
Yeah, Mr.
Oh.
Puzzle has a 438.
Ah!
The 7 in that sentence, Mr. Puzzle's sparks flying.
Ah!
After doing
Wow,
the
only
math.
190 gold.
Mr. Puzzle's 1st tournament win.
Alright, this Vitae bonding sequence works exactly at the speed it works. It seems like it gets to be cheaper if you do the thing that Pentapig and Zorflax did with the Vitae rotations at period 8 instead of period 6.
Arm 3 is period 28. Yeah, it's the limiting factor. Oh, there's only 6 arms. I was about to scroll. But everything fits in the instructions tray. Alright.
Yeah, okay, 28 makes a lot of sense when I see a solution that does it this well. I was thinking the numbers were 18, 21, and 24.
Well, about that. Mr. Puzzle has a more expensive but faster solve.
And more salt. That really clinched it.
Yeah, and more salt.
Also, I think the swing over the disposal here is
Oh
the
yeah.
most area efficient way of loading the animismus, so that's also a cool find.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that motif has showed up a few times with the disposal there, and then the 3-arm or 3-length arm and the 2-length arm.
Yeah. But yeah, let's look at our first place solve by Mr. Puzzle. That's his first
My
spin.
moment in the limelight.
Okay, same VK assembly. But a lot more salt. So there's actually 2 salts being used on the Morse ring.
Yep, and that helps speed it up,
It saves some of those extra rotations.
and it saves bonders too, because I only need the 2 there. Well, there were a lot of solves that had 2 there though, but
Yeah, I mean, I guess when you have 2 bonders, the number of rotations you would need to do to finish that.
Yeah,
lower.
and the bonders are also like sort of as close as possible to each other. They're not on opposite sides of the ring.
Mm-hmm.
This Vitae ring assembly gets to be called method. I decree it.
I'm tempted to call it secret sauce because only like the top 3 or 4 solves used it.
Yeah.
True, yeah, that's valid. Secret sauce Vitae assembly.
Mm-hmm. When I saw Mr. Puzzle submit their solve, I was like, yo, is Mr. Puzzle finally gonna get first place?
I did it. It feels great.
Mm-hmm. I was wondering if Morikondo was gonna get a second win. Yeah, congratulations to everyone in top 10. Not 420.
Yeah, I still can't believe that.
420 is a meme. But it definitely...
It was supposed to be area, and then everyone was like 420 solve, and I was like, well, that's funny. And then I was like, wait, 438? That is really close to
420 sounds very viable.
I wasn't sure it would go lower than like 450, but these have proved me a little wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember I said to Biss when I was playtesting, like 450 seems like a pretty good sum for this.
And then the record is 12 better. Yeah, 12 better than 450.
Really good solves though. I love the secret sauce. The secret sauce Vitae thing makes this look beautiful. No tracks, 1 bonder, and very small footprint comparatively.
Okay, the only track is the arm 1. Nice. Yeah, this is very low in track count compared to like most of the previous solves we've seen. Alright, guess that means it's time for area.
As this for spleen, that's just a funny mystery.
As this for spleen. Alrighty. Area usually takes longer to load. Stephen is in last place as usual, but they didn't make a different solve. Let's see which one's the first area solve. I believe it's this one. Okay, first off we have in 31st place by Topo Mouse with 56 area. Well, I already said, yeah, by Topo Mouse. Yeah. So I guess this is similar to the sum solution, or except just pistons.
Yeah, that makes sense. It seems like if you're using disposal, you weren't trying to do full area planning, you were just trying to save area from a starting solve.
Mm-hmm. I wonder how similar this is to their sum solve. I forgot what Topo Mouse's sum solve looked like. How Jasper says, the metric they're interested in. Yeah, replace all hex arms and standard line with pistons.
Be willing to go a little bit slower and be a little bit more expensive, and then just save area by reprogramming everything.
Mm-hmm.
versus, create a layout, agonize over whether it'll work, program it, find out that it fails at the end, repeat.
Yeah. That's area in general. Some people enjoy that though. Some people being shadow
There's
cluster.
strange people.
And how Jasper apparently. Alrighty, next up we have at 45 area in 30th place, D. Smith. With, I guess more of a proper layout solve, a proper area solve.
Interesting. Yeah, I see this exact structure in the Moore's ring that lets you serve an animismus with assault and reach all of its parts.
Mm-hmm. I was wondering if the output was possible to fit in the swing, like quite the massive swing space for the Morse ring, but no, it doesn't exactly fit in there.
Yeah, and you need to bond anyway. Like, the last bond made by that small ring, it's an awkward 2-diameter shape, so pivoting it around to get it anywhere will make a lot of problems.
Mm. I should probably boot up Cheat Engine as well. Let me go do that.
So shadow cluster referred to when you have a regular crystal-sized output. Shadow cluster referred to different layouts and footprints based on the translation set that you would need to pass that output through to cover the same area.
Mm-hmm.
And so this one looks like it's a hexagonal, like it's a full 7-track or 6-track hexagon.
Yeah. Almost.
It has to go down left, then down right, then up right, then not up left from there. So it's like a Pac-Man.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a Pac-Man translation set on the large output.
Yeah. Shadow Cluster hasn't made all the commentary this week though.
I've learned enough that I can kind of follow some of it and give it here. But I definitely don't have the same chops at area as Shadow Cluster did, so this would be my version.
Oh, that's Cheat Engine, not my HK file. Anyways, next up we have in 41 area in 29th place, Ripboy. Take it for half an hour. We're putting the ring inside the ring.
And using disposal.
Get Shadow Cluster on stream. It's hard to get Shadow Cluster to do anything they don't want to do.
That's a decent person to be. The guy who's hard to make do something they don't want to do.
It's disposing of them. Oh, this is a disposal solve.
Yeah, that makes it easier to do the balancing of outputs. You just never have to have anything on the screen while you're building one of the others. As for the layout, this looks like it's a diamond layout, in that the big thing has to translate both downright and upright.
One thing about area solves on larger structures is that sometimes you don't have to be concerned about actually trying to do it with just one bonder.
Yeah, you can use more glyphs if you can prove that the space that they take up has to be taken up anyway. Then it's just better for cycles.
Yeah.
Same for using more arms, especially when the secondary is cycles.
Yeah, and sometimes using more bonders would actually be beneficial to area as well, by just not needing that much translations to try to get that last bond in. Parity issues.
I'm pretty sure the solve I made could have been done with one bonder, but I had a second one that there was room to place and was definitely better for cycles if I placed it.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, nice utility by the way. There are also people who chose to put a calcification glyph in there, I think.
True, of course, when there's no gold, unless you've already tied on cycles.
Yeah.
Might as well just spam a calcifier instead of an equilibrium.
Alright, next up, we have in 38th place. No, not 38th place, 28th place at 38 area. Whoops. Catspin. Ring inside the ring is very popular.
Ring inside the ring is tempting.
Yeah.
How
As we've
much of the
seen.
Vitae is she storing? Oh,
As
okay,
we've
she's not going to
seen.
build. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's going to build 3 more's worth of the big ring and then start making the Vitae ring.
Yeah. Also, as we've seen from week 4, ring inside the ring, and then salt inside the rings is also an option.
Yeah, the new Char way. Pentapig asking in the cryptic questions before the stream started. Who learned from Nuchar? Who decided that Nuchar's advice didn't matter? I'm curious how much diversity there's going to be in the top solutions here, because I know my layout was pretty natural for me to find, but that has no bearing on whether other people found similar, found better.
Yeah. It's kind of divided into Vitae inside ring or Vitae not inside ring.
That makes sense.
Both are possible for min area. But did Nuachar follow Nuachar's advice?
Nuchar submitted a 22 area solution that puts the Vitae ring under the big ring because it's overlapped.
22?
I'm just making a guess as a number for overlap.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah.
Don't take my number seriously. It's a fast guess as to what overlap might do.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty, next up we have in 27th place with 37 area. I almost read 37th place and 27 area again. Minimum area effort. Except on stream the area is crossed out. So it's like minimum area crossed out and it's just minimum effort instead. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, characters that are not rendered well by the in-game.
I'm surprised it worked on the stream though.
Is this the first solve with 2 arms?
Well, there's Topo Mouse solved, but yeah, I think so.
Oh yeah, the very first one.
This is the first one with an area program layout that incorporates 2 arms.
Mm-hmm. This one also avoids big swing, like doing any swings with the hex, like the 4
An extra
shape.
bonder, yep. You build 2 halves and then you just put a bonder there.
Mm-hmm. It's one way to go about it.
I do love how coordinated 2-arm area solutions end up looking.
Yeah.
It's got similar appeal to some, except for it's much harder to program because area layouts are difficult.
Area's limited, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, next up we have at 36th area and 26th place. We just been dropping an area for each placement apparently. Not entirely terrible. Ring inside ring again. Lots of track though.
This looks like it's trapezoid layout for the big ring.
Yeah, it seems so.
And in Shadow Cluster's wisdom, it's got 2 down left translations or 1 left, 1 down.
It's interesting that it stores the Moors instead of the Vitae.
I never considered storing the Vitae. I always built Vitae rings first and then Moors out of the rest.
Yeah, same with my solution. I made a pretty quick and kind of crappy area solve. I mean, compared to Shadow Cluster. Basically what I do is I make a basic area solve and send it to Shadow Cluster and I ask Shadow Cluster, can this be better? And Shadow Cluster sends me a min area solve.
Tinkering on stream. Just kidding. It's completely private and it ends up a redesign that does way better.
Yeah. Shadow Cluster didn't initially get min area for week 4 though, but like that's week 4.
Week 4 seemed like it was exceptionally challenging for min area.
Yeah.
The two designs that did it were both harebrained in absurd ways. Like,
Mm-hmm. Which
Very
I guess is why Shadow Cluster enjoyed that puzzle more than this one.
I'm wondering when Arm 2 uses its leftmost track. I never saw it during the Moore's assembly.
Huh.
Oh, it's for more storage, isn't it?
I don't know.
No?
I'm,
When does it
I'm
use
guessing
that track?
I'm guessing it's so it gets out of the way of the Moore's instruction.
Oh yeah, probably.
I didn't. Okay, I did see it just once.
Uh-huh.
That's a one bonder problem.
Alrighty, next up we have in 25th place at 35 area. Keeping up with the pattern. Tweedledee. Lacy area. Okay, so assembly from inside the ring. Except Salt is outside this time.
It's interesting to have the Salt outside the ring and use 3-track instead of Salt inside the ring and 2 like we saw with Guilty Bystander.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the 6 places you need to store more seem pretty restrictive here in this algorithm.
Yeah.
That might be the reason for 3-track. I'm curious to see how they use the area well for the Moore's assembly. They're doing it. I see. That makes sense. This is a like 3. This is like a 4/5 of a trapezoid layout, but they use basically all of it.
Mm-hmm.
L layout, I guess.
Also, one thing about the pivot points on this particular ring shape. You know how the pivot points are usually like the second ring inside a crystal?
You can have an arm be on that tile.
Yeah. Yeah, you have an
So if
arm
you're
beyond
inside
that
the
tile
ring, you
instead.
can rotate as a pivot.
Which is
That's the
something...
main reason that I didn't put ring in ring, is like I wanted to have an arm in that ring to do the better pivot.
Mm-hmm. Question is though, is that better pivot actually even necessary?
Yeah, I mean my frustration layout didn't use rotations, but it didn't work.
You can definitely use translations instead.
I just didn't have enough space to store anything to actually make it work. So if someone does that and gets the area number that I thought it would be possible to get, then cool, good job. I didn't.
Alright, next up, we have, well, finally not an area drop. In 24th place, we have 35 area by Not Great. Area 3 using OM Clone. That's a peculiar track outside.
3 arms. This will allow it to go a lot faster. 1335 is so fast.
Yeah, it's looking fast as well. Ooh.
A bit of a 15 puzzle problem moment.
I mean, just tap through the last few cycles before outputting the Moors. That is a lot of shuffling. Okay, and it puts the Vitae inside. And it... Oh, so that's why they get the extra space to use all the track up there. This pivot, this rotation right here. And out.
Yeah, the pivot point being in the exact middle of the crystal is famously bad.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the center rotation is the problem here and why there's so much extra area that eventually gets used for speed.
Yeah.
But not using that area will obviously better for a primary.
There's a lot of really cool shuffling going on here, though.
Yeah. The shuffling is cool. It also does Vitae, then Mors, then Vitae.
I guess it doesn't have enough space to store enough Mors.
Maybe.
But it has space to store Vitae. It just seems like there's a lot of slowdown because of that.
Uh-huh. Some people do Vitae, Mors, Vitae, some people do Vitae, Vitae, Mors. Nobody does Mors, Vitae, Vitae.
It's impossible to. Not impossible.
I
But
mean, it's still 6
you'd be
Vitae.
you'd be building the big area-taking product while holding 6 atoms.
Yeah. It's just not a good idea.
Flex.
You can probably do it with Flex, yeah.
The people who build Vitae or build Mors Vitae Vitae also placed all 7 salt inputs.
Alright, next up
I guess it's also. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay.
I was just gonna say it's worth remarking that this is the maiden voyage of Not Great's OM clone program, which lets
Ooh.
you edit things without having to rewind constantly.
Oh,
apparently.
nice.
Yeah.
Basically shows you a preview on an arbitrary cycle after an arbitrary change.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, after that we have at 34 area in 23rd place, Talair. Bonder inside of the ring. Bonder and an arm instead of tracks and the input.
It looks like ARM 1 does all the work. ARM 2 has a bit that it does to store Mors. It might do more work when the Mors assembly happens. Okay, yeah, it does.
Mhm.
But it's as if ARM 1 is the one in charge of Vitae, and then ARM 2 doesn't have any work until there's Mors to handle.
Yeah. ARM 2 does most of the Morse handling.
In terms of the actual like layout, this is a triangle layout for the big input, the big output. The inverted snowman, according to Buttermilk Donut. Yeah, I guess if you flip this upside down, then you would have a snow penguin. It has a bit of a tail where the input is.
Is Buttermilk Donut the one that named their solution Snowman? Or is that one in the future?
I don't
No.
recognize the name Snowman from anything we've seen so far.
Yeah, there. I recall one person calling their referring to a snowman in one of their solution names.
Yes, putting that in chat.
Snowman on a Segway. Oh, yeah,
Snowman on
Fiesta.
a
Okay. Alright, next up we have we have myself in would-be 23rd place because I didn't quite optimize it after Shadow Cluster sent me their solution. Using kind of a similar method.
Oh yeah, with a bonder inside of the ring, which limits the amount of work that ARM 2 can do, but it does do one useful push to get the VT ring into position that ARM 1 couldn't do on its own.
Yeah. A lot of
And
shuffling.
How much faster is this than Tulara's? Because this was 2354 and Tulara's was 23 something.
Not much. Tulare was 2397, so yeah, very close.
Tulara and Bist in the epic battle.
Usually how I go about optimizing is that I make a very basic solve and then I start to look for optimizations. But as the host, I make a very basic solve, then to Shadow Cluster and do no more optimizations.
The mysticism of this is gone. You've seen how good it can be done. There's no reason to try.
Yeah. Though on the metrics that don't have anyone I can send it to, though, I try to well, I don't say try to optimize, but like I've probably only been optimizing the TI solves. TI is fun. I like TI.
Yeah, you've made some pretty solid TI solves.
27 for week 4 and redacted for week 8. Panic knows the number. Have some Panic the TI solve.
The on inside of the ring lets it do the good pivot as a rotation.
Also,
You and Tulare both take advantage of that.
Also, Zorflex asks why is area the one metric I playtest every time? Because I like area.
You know, if you made this solve 3 times, the cost would be 420.
Nice.
Hey, LMAO.
If you had multiple outputs, you can definitely do that as well. You have enough spare salt. What, me? Cycles main? How?
Probably because you did really well in week 3 and missed a deadline.
Oh, right, yeah. Cycles just takes too much effort.
It takes the wrong kind of effort. I think area takes more effort than cycles, but no one seems to agree with me, so I have to just say it's the wrong kind of effort.
I like layout searching more than I do trying to piece a cycle solve together.
I guess when I'm doing cycles, there's obvious backward steps that I can work that involve, like, okay, what has to happen on this cycle? In an area, it's like, what has to happen on this place? And that's harder.
Yeah, I like layout placing more than I do, like, finding... Well, I mean, for the cycles puzzles I made, for the most part, I just calculated min and left it at that. So that's another reason why I playtested more area solves, is because you can't calculate min area as easily as you can min cycles.
That's valid.
Cycles
You're
theory
leaving us
is like...
implement the idea of theory min for these cycle solves.
Cycle theory is like complete enough. Alright, next up we have in 22nd place at 33 area, Andrich Kane. Have to turn this on because no equilibrium.
So this is another one with 3 tracks inside with the animismus and then the salt outside.
Mm-hmm. It's also a Vitae Morse order.
Oh, and they have 2 bonders so that they can just join 2 halves. But it still manages to be a triangle layout. Because to join to the 2 bonders, you have to travel left and then also up right, or up left.
Yeah.
So, total triangle layout, but done with translations.
Alright, we'll finish watching this Morse assembly one more time. Right. Next up, we have in 33 area and 3,184 cycles. In 21st place, we have 42 Genius 42. Salt Central Shuffle. A logistical nightmare. Hey, we have Salt Center
It
solves.
really happened. Someone put salt in the middle of the ring in the middle of the big ring. Thank you, 42 Genius 42.
Okay, hold on. 42 Genius 42. What place did they get in some?
21.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, just making sure.
Double
Some
21st
placements
place.
is 42.
Oh yeah, some placements 42, nice.
What place did they get in some, and what sum did they get in place?
Wait a minute.
Honestly, the programming on this with the center salt is very fun to watch.
Yeah.
Like, it has to do some juggling to get the single input out of the way of other things.
Good thing you need a lot of extra salt anyways. So you don't have to worry about, like, pulling too much stuff. Because you just need a lot of stuff anyways.
Well done logisticking this one out.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like a nightmare, but it looks so cool as it's done.
I feel like Salt in the Middle for this puzzle is significantly easier than Salt in the Middle for week 4.
And then iron in the middle.
Yeah, Iron in the Middle.
Well,
Because,
just like using iron at all was a choice because, like, well, if you're using iron, you're committing to projection, which is a lot more glyphs, but it's also usable.
since that one you also had very limited space to actually even make the output in 32 area. So I guess this isn't min area yet either. But yeah, since you already had like very little space, you can't actually pull that many iron outputs out of the iron inputs out of the input. So you had to start suppressing it with other stuff so that the next time you pull it, you don't actually pull something new.
It also took like 5,000 freaking cycles.
Yeah,
This one's better at only 3,000.
I mean this isn't min area yet, but the ones that are at min area, which yes, it's possible to do this at min area, aren't 5,000 cycles.
The question of is it possible to do this at min area, that still just kind of determines that min has to be provable. I'm not sure what the proof would look like.
Well, I mean min area is a min achieved. Yeah. Next up, in 20th place, we have at 2,357 cycles, Gecko. Salt has once again moved outside. When min isn't
I guess
min.
with your definition of min, the spoiler alert, there are solves at min area is just silly. Because, spoiler alert, there are solves. One of them will have the
Well,
smallest area.
I meant more like spoiler alerts, there are solves at min area with salt in the middle.
I see. That makes sense.
Otherwise, spoiler alert, there are solves at min area. What, duh?
Spoiler alert, the well ordering theorem exists and says that a set of integers will have a min, or natural numbers will have a minimum.
Alright, so, yeah, this solve does any solve with the Vitae ring inside of the Morse ring is probably just gonna make the final product using translations instead of pivots. Well, not pivots,
Yeah.
this one is rotations.
Pivots or rotations are very costly if you have to hold the entire product minus a little bit. Although this one does a good job with what it has.
Yeah.
My area that I got -1 layout had ring and ring, but my actual submission had not ring and ring. So gotta wonder.
Alright, next up we have in 19th place with 33 area, Axton. With just a very simple solution named 33. Ring and ring again.
Whoa, quite a cycle drop. Almost
Oh yeah,
about 400 cycles quicker.
yeah, cycles drops quite
the 20s
significantly.
went by roaring fast.
When you have 2 arms, you can do things pretty efficiently. As long as, like, the workload is shared evenly.
One thing I felt pretty good about with mine is that both arms have access to the salt input, so it can be pumped out faster.
Mm-hmm.
I think my cycles is good for my area. I don't know if my area is good enough.
Mm-hmm. Okay, moving on. In 18th place, we have at 1729 cycles. Goodbye Galaxy. Elden Rings. Somebody's replaying Elden Ring instead.
So many people have been playing Elden Ring. It's a very boring number, Morikonda. I don't know what you're talking about. It's 1729.
Probably the cycles drop.
I'm kind of setting up the Hardy and Ramanujan joke.
Hmm?
Maybe Mr. Puzzle gets it.
Oh,
Yeah, I
okay.
do.
It's a reference I don't get.
I don't remember exactly what it is, but I believe it's like sum of two cubes.
It's the first integer that can be expressed as the sum of two cubes in two different ways. It's
That.
12 cubed plus 1 cubed, and it's also 9 cubed plus 10 cubed. And Ramanujan just pulled this out of nowhere when Hardy had remarked, "Oh, this is a very boring number on our taxi or something." Ramanujan's like, "No, it's not. Here's why it's not boring."
Also, I see Zorfak has been playing Elden Ring instead.
One of the friends I have for Necrodancer has over 120 hours in the game. It's only been out for like 350 hours, so that's a scary number.
Ooh.
I've heard only good things about it. Anyway, if this is an Elden Ring review session on the solution that's titled Elden Rings, I also just say it's a good solution.
Is it Vita Vita Morris? Looks like Vita Vita Morris. Assembly's quite neat. There are a surprising number of pivots that actually fit. And this one has no equilibrium. But it does make... Oh, wait, no, there's one in the center. Never mind. But, like, it does make plenty use of the tracks. Look, plenty use of the extra space for tracks.
I wonder where the Critelli is.
It's Goodbye Galaxy. It's
I
probably
bet it's
covered.
here. Yep.
Nice.
Explicit rejection.
Alright, next up we have 32 area now in 17th place. We're starting with 1971 cycles, alright. We're starting 32 area at, like...
There's no 2XX in the
Yeah.
32s?
Nope. That's where we're starting 32 area.
Madmaster said that Arm 2 gets bored in the Twitch chat, so just doing some pumping weights and pivoting, some waggling.
Amazing.
Bumping iron. Doing.
People say that you have to, like, try to fill up the instructions tape for both arms as much as possible for better cycles, and Madmaster took that quite literally.
I remember Panic talking about Potent Potable's sum, and like, it's explicitly better to have more instructions on every arm, so just go around the triangle track 3 times, or 1 time with your extra 3 instructions.
I do remember that.
Arm 2 is having the time of his life there.
It, like, if I were to give a soundtrack to Arm 2's actions, it would be like the dial-up internet sounds. Like, pivots are one of the weird groans, and then the waving is another, like...
Oh no, I'm not old enough.
Oh, oof. Yeah, all 3 of us are older.
Oh yeah, Tillaire, I like that comment. Millennium Falcon shaped solution.
Ooh, yeah. Oh, it's almost done, so I guess we'll just let it run. Well, almost. As in, like, there's still 2 more VT before we do the Morse part. Okay, there we go. Okay, next up we have in 16th place at 1910 cycles, Cavalier with a soft cut bikini. I don't know why. So, arm and 2 bonders inside the ring is still valid, apparently.
Yeah, it's cool that this goes down to 32. I didn't really explore the space of 32 area layouts that much because I had mine and then I just started looking for 31s.
Uh-huh.
But it's cool to see others that I didn't make work.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
It's
It's
a
because the
two-piece.
Morse ring is a 2-piece.
Yeah. Mr. Puzzle.
What did Mr. Fiddle say?
It was a nitsy bitsy teeny weeny potent transmutation thingy. Yeah, these 2 bonders allow you to make exactly half, and then
Yeah.
1 translation connects them. And I guess when you have exactly half, the pivots it has to do to get into position aren't costly in area.
Mm-hmm. Alright, next up we have a drop in cycles into 1550
Hey, I recognize that number. Rip.
Biggie Mac.
So people are either that much faster or there are that many 31s? Wow. Well, I 16'd mine, which didn't matter. It was 1601, and then I 16'd it because might as well save those extra cycles.
Yeah. It
So this
almost
is my
mattered.
32.
Also in lowercase. I see the solution name is in lowercase.
I created it and fired it, so yeah.
Mm-hmm. Alright, because 60. Maybe we should... We don't have to watch this at double speed anymore.
Yeah, I never got 31 working, so 32 is where it stops for me. And I just build the Vitae twice and then Mors with some rotations
Mm-hmm.
and some input suppression, which I think is just trying to be as fast as possible, but it's
Yeah.
probably not necessary. Yeah, this week might be the nail in the coffin for the Biggie might still win this. I don't think I had that goal. I didn't. I don't think there's a chance that I am staying close enough to Pentapig to make it up in 2 more weeks, even with cycles, TI, and computation.
Mm-hmm. I mean, computation is still like a maybe. You never know. But yeah, the podium has definitely been less tight this tournament compared to last year.
Like when I hosted, it was Pentapig with enough of a margin over Jinyu that Pentapig almost didn't need to optimize the computation puzzle at all. Just solved it.
Except it did anyways.
Yeah, exactly. Because optimization addicts anonymous.
And then, like, made your computer very slow.
I didn't really think through how much difficult it would be to run those solutions.
Oh yeah, that was the area primary computation, right?
Yep. Maybe with a test harness it would be more sensible. Oh yeah, here I am storing Vitae. Just to save a little bit of time.
Oh, okay.
That's why it's 60.
Alrighty, next up, we have at 1530 cycles in 14th place, Bambi. BU is just 20 cycles off. That is a long ass track. Surprised that this track that size is even valid.
I tried to make 31 layouts and determined that they didn't work with my understanding of how programming would work. So if 30 is possible, that's even scarier.
Mm-hmm. Oh wait, Grimmy is here.
Yeah, I don't see them in chat much, but hello, Grimmy.
It says first time chat from viewer Grimmy42. Wait, why is it also 42?
Yeah, their name has been 42 since like as long as I've known them, but they don't usually use that in
Okay.
Discord anymore. I think they used to be Grimmy with one M, and now it's two M's and no 42 in Discord.
Without the double M, it looks more like rhyming. I wonder what's the proper
No,
way to pronounce it.
it's pronounced. Hold on, let me Grimmy.
Why the key spam?
There's a reason for it. I think you'd have to go to the Necrodancer community to get more info.
Okay. I see the Necrodancer like members, community members getting the reference. Yeah, this solve looks possible and 31. If like you remove the plus side of the track.
It really does. Yeah, you just have to store things a little bit more elegantly.
I don't know if you could get all the bonds done.
All right, yeah, you can't get all the. Maybe if there was like less track on the left side as well, and that's a bonder instead.
Oh yeah, if you put a bonder.
Like this definitely looks like a viable 31 layout. It probably is actually. But yeah.
It would be a total reprogramming, but if maybe that's the thing.
Alright, next up, we have in 13th place at 1499 cycles, username Boyd. The cycle just goes down. Like, way down.
Sub 100.
This one does a lot in parallel. You can see that it's built the Vitae rings with so much Moore's ring already built. I think the access on this makes a lot of sense. It's like the other solve, but with Bonder.
Oh, wait a minute.
It's very similar to the other solve. You rotate it by 60 degrees.
Yeah.
The Bonder goes in that spot, but it still has that extra bit of track dangling off.
And very similar to the slight layout tinkering we did with the previous solve.
Yeah, you just move the Bonder towards the equilibrium, move the track towards the Bonder, and then don't use the third track.
Yeah.
Shadow Cluster giving the complete summary in their mind of what the tech is. Pivot on the Moors determines the footprint, +1 for another arm.
Oh, hey, Shadow Cluster's here.
But you're assuming that you pivot the Moors, which I guess all things with ring and ring must do. But arm and ring at min area seems like it's also possible. Maybe, hopefully. Maybe arm and ring doesn't go that well.
Alright, next up we have in 12th place at 1486 cycles, Bindeer.
Keeps going down.
I don't know how I stumbled into this version 1.1. Hey look, it's Armin Ring.
Yeah, this is very similar to mine, but it's just got an extra track for arm too, which presumably is faster. Oh, and it also doesn't use the second bonder that mine used. Mine used 2 bonders, which benefited it, but this one manages to get by with 1.
Also, Shadow Cluster, you can just DM it to me. I'll probably have to remember to actually load it in though, but yeah, just DM the solution to me. That would be the most convenient way for me to do a showcase that you forgot to that hasn't been submitted to the site. 2 places on the last day by Psycho Optimizing -30. Nice. compared to Biggie, who 16th their solve and got no places.
I improved from 1601 to 1550, and that hit the chasm between 19 something and 1530.
Yeah. That seems to be the case with you often, Biggie.
It's just unlucky, but it's okay. I mean, this is me kind of remembering that, oh yeah, area is still kind of not my strength.
Mm-hmm.
I lucked into Film Crystal and thought maybe this one is also like that. But no.
Uh-huh.
And
The
also,
usual Biggie drop.
this group of people are very good at the game. So placing not at the top of it doesn't mean you aren't.
Basically anyone in the tournament is top 1 percentile. We're just competing for
If you gave someone on the Steam Workshop this puzzle and said solve it for area, I doubt you'd see many people under 35, under 40 even.
Yeah. Alrighty, next up we have at 1382 cycles. The last 7 hours solved by Rolomni in 11th place.
100 cycles-ish?
1,382 cycles, yeah.
Oh. So...
Rolomni almost getting top 10.
I have to assume that this means top 10 is equivalent to get 31, unless someone is somehow faster at 32.
Yes.
This is really cool.
Top 10 is 31.
Heyo.
Oh yeah, Mr. Puzzle hasn't appeared.
Yeah.
This is a good week for Mr. Puzzle, apparently.
And Morikonda.
Yeah, Morikonda also hasn't appeared. It's a good week for both of them.
Morikonda talking about how they couldn't get one area lower than what they had, but they weren't sure that that was true. I always read that as 32 to 31, but they were meaning it as 31 to 30.
Mm-hmm. Also, Rolomni referring to only implementing and then didn't optimize. Yeah, you probably don't. If optimizing meant only cycles, it wouldn't have mattered. You're in the top of the 32 bracket. But yeah, moving on, we have our 31 area solves. Starting with 10th place, Kuku52, at 3,224 cycles. We're back up there. That means I need to double the speed again of Cheat Engine.
A 5-length track and a 31? I'm missing something.
And a salt in the middle.
Wait a minute.
Spicy.
Also, step 1 bond 2 salts together means that they are using a wand of some sort.
Oh.
That, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
oh,
2
man.
area you're not getting back, because that's 2, yeah, there's no
That's
unbonders.
spicy. I like that. That's really neat.
Oh, oh, okay.
Yeah, I figured that the suppression, if you did put salt in the middle, would require something like that, because arms don't necessarily get to access the center point, but they might be able to pivot onto it.
I mean, arm is that one. Arm 1 gets to access it.
Not when there's an atom on the tile that's on the track.
Oh, alright. You don't get both arms accessing it.
This is really clever, and it solves some of the problems that I had with mine.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't do this.
This is
There are also
crazy
lots of
solve.
other things I didn't do, and probably 9 other things, but regardless, this is pretty.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping that at the end of the tape, there's some additional logic that lets this loop.
Letting this loop. Probably
I
just
doubt it.
throwing the salt out.
Yeah, Mr. Puzzle, you didn't get to see it, but my solution looped by making the vitae that it's set off to the side into a waste chain.
Ah,
Yeah, that works too. This could probably do that as well.
but yeah, I'm hoping for
Let's find
doing
out.
doing something where it's like the first grab on the one is negated by putting a grab at the end of the loop, and then the second one is negated by 2 suppressing it or something. I don't know. It probably won't happen, but a man could.
A man can dream, but should he?
Nope. Sadly, it doesn't.
Oh,
Crunchy.
crunch.
Alrighty, next up we have in 31st place. No, not 31st place. 9th place.
Whoa.
At 31 area and 2,997 cycles, sub 3,000 now. Fiesta, congratulations on getting 9th place, and congratulations to Cuckoo52 for getting 10th place. Fratelli Snowman.
Just one arm, so you can't do single atom input suppression. That's somewhat surprising.
Spicy.
And yeah, this is totally possible.
How does it make the last bonds on the big output? I guess it does.
That pivot.
Just translates. And a pivot. Okay, yeah.
There's that one pivot that just works.
You pivot around that Morse, and it still fits. And it doesn't crash into the salt input either because it's specifically that position.
That's real stuff.
Shadow Cluster sent me a saw that did this as well. They have since optimized it though, and it doesn't do the big pivot anymore. Yeah, that pivot. That pivot just works. B. Yep. But yeah, so speaking of similar, with Hala Jasper mentioning it, we have in 8th place at 2,751 cycles Hala Jasper, who says this is min area, with a very similar solve.
The bonder's on the other side, but I think it's just mirrored. It's basically identical.
Mm-hmm. Just a slight bit faster.
It builds more of the Moore's ring before it starts the second Vitae ring.
Yeah.
I guess if you're storing the Moore's, you might as well store it as the part that it's already supposed to become.
Yeah, so this one doesn't quite do the large pivots, but it still works.
Oh wait, it uses a different hex. The Critelli would be used if it did the pivots, but instead it uses the hex across from the Critelli.
Mm-hmm. Also, no, 30 isn't min, unfortunately.
It's 29.
Oh, shit, so this is very pop. I do that a lot.
It's your favorite, I have just told you something you didn't want to hear emote.
I may have made that emote just in time for the tournament for that purpose.
It's such a good one.
You know, Hala Jasper, you could have 6T'd this and then before outputting, grabbed on the Moors right next to the Critelli and pivoted it back and forth 100 times.
Zorfax's Azuri Paul emote fills them with dread. There's also the Neko Shrug emote. I like using that one as well. Alright, next up in 7th place, we have at 2709 cycles, YX Web. I heard that Shadow Cluster is pretty good at this area thing.
Oh, another one. This
Looks familiar.
Yeah.
It has 2 bonders this time, though, plus 10 gold, and minus a couple of cycles for it, but very few. Oh, Jasper's solution was also 27 something.
This seems to be the 20-something cycles bracket for 31 area.
They might be close to the 1-arm speed limit, and so now I'm imagining, okay, the faster ones will be the 30 ones that use 2 arms and are doing ring and ring things.
Yeah.
This layout doesn't have any room for a second arm, no matter how hard you try.
Unless you, like, somehow fit 2 arms inside.
It's
And
true,
no
I can't prove
tracks.
that both tracks can't just be arms instead.
But, like, I doubt that'd be actually helpful for cycles.
I guess you want things to be in places where you can't have the arm not be on a track. So this is probably the only way this layout works, is with 1 arm.
Also, Zorback saying, yes, when this pretends to not know something emote. Yeah, pretty much. And yeah, next up at a drop of like 300 cycles, we have in 6th place, 2409, Ebanov. I guess you can save 300 cycles on this layout.
Arm save cycles, but salt save area. Oh, I see. Where the salt is, there had once been an arm. But by moving
okay.
the salt in, you just don't need the area. So it's slower, but it's better for area. Good solve, Ebanov. And yeah, Zorflax mentioning, good week for Ebanov, too.
Yeah. Good week for Ebanov, good week for Morakonda, good week for Mr. Puzzle. And good week for Pentafig.
Bad week for Spect and Biggie.
quick top 3, top 4 coup.
Alright, yeah.
Flip it upside down.
What's predictions for top 3?
I'm gonna say I'm in top 3.
Oh, confident.
Mora and Mr. Puzzle in both top 3s would be cool. Pentapig as the same top 3 in both would be funny.
Pentafig was 4th place. In some.
He was?
I think so.
No, Ebanov was 4th. Ebanov was 4th. Penta was 3rd.
I don't remember. Also, yeah, Shadow Clutch to solve is only 1 arm.
Yeah, Penta was 3rd. I just checked.
Ah, okay. Yeah. Next up, we have in would-be 6th place, Shadow Cluster's 1 arm solve at 2283 cycles.
Whoa.
With basically the
So-
same layout, but flexing with calcification.
Classic Shadow Cluster snark.
This is why I like including calcification on a puzzle that requires no calcification.
I'm amazed how much time the salt sits on that lower bonder before something just bonds to it and grabs it. It's like you put that salt there really early on,
That's
and then it
just
sits there.
lots
for
of
long.
pre-planning. Yeah, just a lot of long-term planning. Which is a good skill to have for area.
42 Genius 42 suggesting this is the layout, I guess. I mean, we're seeing it for 10th through 6th because the better one is 5th through 1st.
There's actually a few better ones, and like a few of them that are... There's actually quite a few ring and ring solves. Not ring and ring. There's quite a few ring and ring layouts. Cause Pentapig sent me 3 of them that were about the same amount of cycles, and there was like, and Pentapig was like, do I have to actually try to optimize all 3 of these layouts because they're so close to each other?
Oh,
Yeah. Next up, in 5th place, we have at 22-29 cycles, Maraconda.
Faster than Shadow Cluster with 1 arm.
Ooh.
whoa.
And same calcification snark. And Mora just
Wow.
beat Shadow Cluster at his own game.
I would flip my lid if the next person has the same area and cycles, but they're cheaper.
I also like the
I
better
was-
Fratelli. I wonder what where it was before.
I think maybe they mean that Salt is better than Cartelli.
Hmm.
But yeah, this is a really good solve as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Shadow
I was
Cluster says
thinking
they
that perhaps Murakonda beat Shadow Cluster on the tertiary because Mora didn't use calcifiers and otherwise had the same solve as Shadow Cluster.
now
But
Maraconda
it's-
is used to calcifiers as well.
This is the different one. It's Murakonda still trying to be smart with calcifiers and having a better programming.
Also, Shadow Cluster said they tried to look for a 30. I guess... Has Shadow Cluster proved 30 impossible?
Just claimed that the smaller ring ruins half of them and arm access ruins the other half.
Hmm.
Basically, ring and ring is impossible with arm access problems, and ring outside of ring is impossible because the smaller thing doesn't fit.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty, next up we have in 4th place at 22-19 cycles, Nuashar, with, of course, this.
10 cycles.
Oh yeah,
Oh, hey,
yeah.
nice.
Nuachar learned from Nuachar.
Yep. Fortitude Genius Fortitude Genius Fortitude just going, he copied me.
So these arms can access all the spaces you need to store Morris, and that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the fact that they're on a looped track means that they can move pretty fast, which is good.
Yeah. Loop tracks are pretty powerful. There's a lot of shuffling now.
Man, I think if I showed my attempted layout for 31, I would just get laughed at by Shadow Cluster and people who know better, because there's obvious reasons it won't work. But these don't have those reasons, because they do work.
Uh-huh. Finding area layouts is pretty difficult. Finding layouts in general is pretty difficult. But yeah, that also reveals like whoever, like all the people in top 3. So
You've got Pentapig and Mr. Puzzle. Who else?
and
Am I
in 3rd
missing?
place we have at 2048 cycles Velvacane.
Velvacane! Right,
Yep.
they had the tie with Goodbye Galaxy and some, so this is a great week for them as well.
Mr. Puzzle vibrates in chair. Yeah, I guess the top solves are all this instead. Half of them are like ring outside of ring, and the other half are ring inside of ring and input inside of the ring. Input
So
inside
now,
of ring
Mr.
inside of
Puzzle,
ring.
with Pentapig as your only remaining foe, do you feel lucky?
That's what I'm wondering. I still got quite a few cycle drop, but I don't know if. Oh, I don't know if Penta found similar things I did.
The P's.
So this one does its final bond in a triangle layout with full translation, which means it doesn't actually have to suppress the salt in the middle during any of those steps.
Uh-huh.
Because you can triangle translate a ring without touching the center. I also like the
Whoa.
weird pathfinding it needs to use for the Vitae.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and Grimmy says Return of the Vitae Mars Vitae.
Yeah, wouldn't have noticed that unless they pointed that out. Wild.
Ice cream about to fall off the cone right now.
Excellent solve from Velmakin. Well-deserved top 3.
And it goes even lower. In second place, we take a Cycles drop into 1837 cycles. In second place, Mr. Puzzle.
Oh.
So close.
Still excellent week.
Still.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Is it
Wild.
fast? Is it small? Hope so. Well, it's definitely small. It's also really fast.
Oh, this is the same ice cream about to fall out of the cone layout, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it looks pretty similar.
And it bonds in almost the same way, but Arm 1 gets access to a second track by moving the bonder up.
Also, Vitae more instead. Demand a cycles recount. I
The
can
game
see.
is pretty good at digitizing that thing.
we can just watch the solution run.
And count it one by one. Okay, 1 cycle,
Oh,
2 cycle, 3 cycle. Nah.
oh. I wonder. I did not 6T it. I don't think that would have saved me much.
No, it wouldn't.
Oh, okay. Wait, no.
But yeah, so it seems like the just double translation is more useful for the output than like pivoting. Or it's maybe not that, but like that allows the ring and ring layouts to actually even work. And the ring and ring layouts allow like double arms to actually work.
Yeah, when you have ring and ring and the translations, then 2 arms can access all the relevant places and can just keep working.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know how fast Pentapig is though, because this might be like a 1500 and like total blowout, or it might be a
Yeah, in
head
first
out.
place we have Pentapig at 1391 cycles.
Holy moly!
Oh, okay, yeah. I don't know way in hell I could catch up to that. How the hell?
Does it look the same? What does it look like?
Is this the same layout?
It's the same
This
layout.
is
It's
the
identical.
same layout.
No. He's just. Oh, but he's icy. He built. Oh my! No way.
Okay, it's Vitae Mors Vitae.
Oh, Vitae Mors Vitae
Three
was the
Vitae
way to.
stored in a triangle on top of the input. That's so cool.
Oh. Whole. No way I would have guessed.
The way that the 3 Vitae are stored is gorgeous.
Oh,
And it
Okay,
has to
so-
be that way, right? Those are the only 3
well
places they-
earned.
Okay, so the funny thing is though, Pentapig sent me the 3 solutions, the 3 layouts that they had, and they were both like in the 1500s range. And they were like, I'm worried about placements.
When you got all the top 3 solutions, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, but which one?
Rolomni calm before the storm moment. I'm concerned that this will be important to optimize further, and then like no one is close. No, this is a really cool layout. I'm curious to see how Jasper's proof that 31 is definitely min, because they mentioned during Nuchar solve that they saw that they missed something in their assumptions. Nuchar seems to be the person who can cause provers to violate some assumption.
Nuchar
me
has
amazing.
like Interesting ideas.
Does Nushar talk much? I've never seen them
No, they
communicate in
haven't talked
Twitch,
ever, I think.
Discord.
Oh,
You just receive solutions on the website, and that's all they have ever said.
Yeah.
and doing Vitae Mors Vitae also saves you a whole bunch of time because you don't have to wait for that 12th Vitae to drop.
Oh.
Yeah, the puzzle's
Mors.
over when the Mors rings out.
Brilliant.
Oh, right, yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
So extra credit, homework assignment, take this layout and do Mors Vitae for even more cycle saves.
Where do you put the extra Vitae? You've got 2 spots on the Animismus.
That's left as an exercise for the student.
Okay, yeah, sorry. I'm not going to correct the teacher on this one.
I wonder if, like, Jinyu can actually optimize this further. He
Oh,
probably can, it's Jinyu. But, yeah. Time to look at the showcase offs. Oh, wait, no, before that, next puzzle reveal. Totally forgot about that. Computation puzzle time. Computation puzzle reveal. I accidentally scrolled down, but I don't think anybody saw the name. Maybe?
Yeah, I tried to look in the last stream really hard to see what it was, and I couldn't see it.
I caught the words radio receivers and then was sad that was just week 8.
Here we go. Some people can probably guess what it is from the name.
Ooh.
I only know CX is a quantum controlled gate, so I don't think that's that.
CX is the Roman numeral for 110.
Oh.
Oh, you're doing that.
Oh, interesting.
Computation puzzle is rule 110.
We've done this in Space Chem. We're doing it now in Opus Magnum.
Yep.
For those who don't know what Rule 110 is, there's a lot to explain.
Uh-huh. So, yeah, I'm gonna go reveal the... put it onto the website, because there's a lot of explanation I just typed up yesterday, which is why I was up so late. Well, actually, I was up so late because I was playtesting. Whoops.
Yeah, if you want the explanation in voice, probably the shortest explanation is every spoke of the wheel is either a 0 or a 1. And depending on your state and the state of your left and right neighbors, the output will have a 0 or a 1 computed from that.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, the top right salt has a fire to its left and a salt to its right. The specific mapping for fire, salt, salt into one next thing on the output is a fire.
I think it'd probably be helpful for...
It's not quite Game of Life rules.
It's Game of Life framework, but with a different rule set.
It's a similar idea. Each cell looks at itself and its neighbors and it says,
Wait,
okay.
so, one moment. I think trying to turn on screen capture just crashes OBS. Guess I have to restart OBS.
Twitch is still carrying everything we're saying, but you don't get to interact with it anymore and the screen is black.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just gonna restart OBS. I have the merger... I got a video merger tool that's actually pretty quick, so it's not as much of a pain for me. Okay, but the computer is crashing. I can't open Task Manager.
Uh-oh.
We'll probably have to wait it out.
Twitch does still say you're live.
Yeah, I am still live, but like, OBS just does that. I have to keep that in mind then.
I'm back reading the Discord channel.
Okay, we're back.
I'm back reading the Discord channel, and Tulare has Alchemist notes with an om nom nom small input. Or no, that's Disposal. Disposal is a 7-hex om nom nom.
It's so cute. I wanna make a mod or something that makes disposal render like that.
I wonder if any other alchemists doodle hungry ogre faces on the glyph of disposal.
I actually don't hate like infinites, but like it's just that I kind of didn't come up with an infinite puzzle that I liked enough.
Yeah, the absence of infinites, but the presence of a cycles puzzle is a bit of a.
But yeah, so the metric for this puzzle is weighted sum, which is just the same as last year. It's cost divided by 5 plus cycles plus area. And instructions, there are 64 possible inputs, so you will be the game will be simulated on OM Sim for all 64 of those test cases.
And your score is the minimum.
Yeah, score is the maximum out of all those.
Yeah, maximum. I mean,
Say minimum.
the worst one.
Hold on.
No, it's the maximum out of all of those. And area will be based off of whatever OM Sim says the area is, which can be different if you use large swings, but most of the optimized solves would not have large swings.
I'm wondering, is output conditional over output banned explicitly, or?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the site will catch it if you try to do it.
Oh, it does?
Okay,
tell
so
you that you
dropping
dropped
something
the
on the
wrong
output
thing.
glyph
Oh,
that
right,
would
yeah,
fit
it
what is
does that.
invalid is a-
But it doesn't catch the second additional rule that I have written though. Don't exploit it. We'll catch it on
The
stream.
second rule is that every input has to be treated as unique.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Comp mod rules.
So, which will probably be verified if Mr. Puzzle comes up with the mod.
This should be really quick to implement. I'm gonna try and get it done tonight, and if not, it'll be out by tomorrow.
Mhm.
The mod will do it'll randomize it every input. The output should correspond correctly. I might have to do some testing, but I'll go find the rule sheet for what the inputs output should do either on the site or it's on the site. Perfect. But yeah, I'll put that together. This looks really simple to build from a coding points, so it shouldn't be too long.
Yeah, it's just replacing the inputs and outputs pretty much. There's no
Rule 110 exists on Stack Overflow. You can punch it output.
Yep. The first 6 inputs will be the same every time for that mod, though.
Okay, yeah. So I guess I'll have to discuss with you which exact inputs to use. Or you could discuss in the Opus Magnum chat works as well.
Yeah, we could do that because I can do it so it's specific test cases to begin with. I can also do it so that there's a global seed that gets randomized, and then that's used. So every time you stop the simulation and start it again, you get a different run of inputs. So either the same stream of random inputs or a different stream of random inputs every time. You can decide which one of those you'd rather have.
Yeah.
Or if you'd like me to add an option that just lets you toggle between them or something. I don't know. But
also, what's caching? Shadow Cluster mentioned
caching would be banned inherently because the first and second output can be different. So caching doesn't help you.
Okay.
Yeah, the idea of you put something on the output glyph that doesn't match the output would be completely a fail of caching if you have to assume that each output is different.
And also to answer Genius 42, yes, 10 points for solving.
Yeah. Wheel inversion got away with caching because the input was the same input the entire time the simulation ran. It's just it could be a different input every time you start the machine.
Yeah. So yeah, this is a competition puzzle. You have 3 weeks to work on it. But there's also week 8 that's currently happening as well. Yeah. Guess I'll move on to score review. Let me actually compile the results. Showcase is after score review. Sometimes I do score review first, sometimes I do showcase first. Depends on if I remember to do the score review or not.
I think that technically is a legal shadow cluster.
What does Shadow Cluster say?
If you
Form of
speculate,
caching.
yeah, if you do like a speculation that the n and n plus input is the same, and like if they're not, then you do a slow thing, but if they are, then you do a fast thing.
Yeah, but it takes worst case scenario, so it probably doesn't matter
Well, because the site
that
is
much.
simulating all 6 are the same, so
Oh,
you'll
right,
always
yeah.
get the
Right.
Oh.
You get 64 different best case scenarios while still being valid.
Huh.
right. I mean, if you can pull it off, go
Yeah,
for it.
if you can pull it off.
Yeah.
I wouldn't oppose that.
That sounds really expensive, though.
It sounds
Right.
hard to do non-destructively of the n plus 1 input because you have to make your n plus 1 output be
We'll see
that.
what I get. Okay, so yeah, this is the current results.
Total score didn't update. It's the same numbers as they were before.
I forget to do that. I'll do that later. I'll do the total score first. I'll do the other ones later. But yeah.
6.9 points behind Pentapig. Yeah, I did not cover any ground. I lost all my progress of 3 weeks on this week.
Oof.
Rip.
Area and some. Yeah. Well, there's always the computation week that you can catch up with.
I can probably catch up a point. I don't think I will be doing something Pentapig isn't aware of anymore.
There's also TI.
Right. We have this next week. That is my chance.
Mm-hmm. TI and cycles, except I doubt either of you would miss min cycles.
Yeah, there's not going to be a clear way of gaining metric points on Pentapig except in TI and
Mhm.
computation.
Yeah.
But no, I'm just trying to stay ahead of Rolamni, and I don't know if he's going to see these results and be
Oh.
renewed, inspired to try to catch back up.
Yeah,
and pass me.
Rolamni's in striking distance with you. of you.
Yeah, and Mr. Puzzle's the next one back, so it's basically I'm guaranteed top 3, but Rolamni could try to make me be third.
Uh-huh.
Or Mr. Puzzle could still surprise us all.
Dude, if I kept getting, like, if I did a double win, just smash the computation.
Alright, yeah, I can also update this.
Pure fiction.
Pentapig now has outright the most wins in the tournament. He was tied with Spect last week.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if Spec has submitted for week 8. I remember seeing their name. I don't know if it was because of week 8 or I'm just imagining things. But yeah, this is the current results, and we'll be heading back for Showcase. I can turn off Cheat Engine. And solves week 7 Showcase. I guess we'll do Shadow Clusters first. Let me just download that. Put it in my non-Steam users folder. That is an interesting track shape. Oh, that's why. This is overlap area. Also, ignore the thing on the top left. Ah, I see. This is a loud solution.
Ogre disposal, nom 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 nom.
Is there a point to the little dance it does? the end there. Disposal go brr. Yeah. But yeah. Moving on then, we have quite a few throughput solves and cycle solves as well. I'll be starting with some cycle solves. I'll show mine first. This is my attempt at cycles. This is 40 cycles because I didn't bother rebuilding. I wonder how well cycles area
General
would have
anesthetic
been.
vibes.
Oh, general anesthetic, yeah. So, the thing about cycles I found is that the difficult part is not the... Oh wait, this is zoom mod, so that's why I can zoom out. I guess Grimmy wasn't aware that we've been using zoom mod this whole time.
She can zoom out. You can't. But if you download a thing, then you can.
Yeah, there is a zoom mod that Luna made. Grimmy hasn't been paying attention to, the quintessential thread. DLC only $4.99. But yeah, Psycho's area wasn't considered metric. I wonder how well it would have done. So, 40 Psychos look simple, but, well, quote-unquote simple, but then you compare it to the 39 Psychos that Bambi made. This is 39 Psychos. It does a whole lot of pre-building.
Yeah, I did not think pre-building on this looks fun at all.
Yeah, 35 gold. It's a lot.
Bambi's a good cycles monster maker. I remember that their high gloss finish made me happy too. It was full throughput.
So, yeah, the difficult part about the cycles I found is actually not the Morse ring, when you're not pre-building, that is. When you're not pre-building, the difficult part is not the Morse ring, but the Vitae ring. When you're pre-building, I guess it doesn't matter as much. They're both equally as difficult.
When you're pre-building, you have a lot of spare vitae, so you really just have to route it. The Moore's ring is the one where you are making exactly as much as you need and no more.
Yeah.
No more.
On the other end of full throughput, though, we have throughput cost. There's Mr. Puzzle with a 1140 throughput cost.
Woohoo!
We can zoom back in. Yeah. I also wonder how throughput would have been for this puzzle.
How you deal with the 7 inputs looks like 6 of them are
Yeah.
in animismus stations, and the 7th is used to make the 3 on the Vitae ring.
It's a pretty convenient ratio.
It's definitely a 6. 6 period is 7 inputs and 3 used for each. Like, each Vitae counts as 1, but Moors that are not paired with a Vitae count as 2, so there's 21 output atoms.
Yeah. That's the reason there's 7 saw, actually. It's either 7 or 3. And 7 is more fun than 3.
21 salts.
Oh yeah, it can also be 1 salt or 21 salt. 21 salt would have been funny.
Do that one for week 21.
Hey, we're gonna do Opus Magnum tournament 100 years.
I remember one of my for fun solves was alchemical jewel, but you have unlimited earth reagents. But you
Right,
still only
yeah, I
have one.
remember that. Also, and we have a small competition on throughput gold. Not great at 1060 gold.
Ooh, got beat.
Super secret.
And a very symmetrical solve.
Oh,
Ooh.
that's looking nice.
Where are the...
Using the 6-arm tech from some of the sum solves to make the rings.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, this does kind of look like a bunch of sum solves glued together, huh?
And this one doesn't do the very clean ratio of 6 animismus stations and 1 salt for all the extras for the VT ring.
But yeah, it's funny how the asymmetry is handled at the top there.
This is a great solution by not great.
Mhm. This might have been fun as a throughput puzzle.
Yeah, the waste handling on this one is really nice too. It's just going right in there, no problem whatsoever.
Yeah, when you only have 4 animismus and 2 of them are making outputs, then it really works.
Mm-hmm.
And next up we have a solved by Catsman called Arm in the Middle.
And it's a solve? Arm must not be in the middle of the small
It's
ring.
an overlap solve.
Oh, then it can be a thing. Okay.
We are looking at Showcase. I do wonder if this could be faster though, with the same layout. Yeah, the outer arms can extend enough to like put in the mores. And not like leave all the work to arm 7. It's a pretty soft though.
But if you sped it up, then the cycles wouldn't be so good.
Yeah, everyone noticing 420.
Oh, wait, is that on purpose?
Hey, Lamau.
That might have been on purpose. Right, next up we have a solved by 42 Genus 42. I'm not so sure which one's the newer one. This one's the newer one. Alright. Yeah. 7 salts fit in the big ring.
That makes
Nice.
sense. I know you were saying that there was something you wanted to do, and this is now an understanding of it. Oh, and it's conditional too. It makes
Ooh,
a third of
nice.
each point conditionally.
I love how it outputs. The output just works out with suppression as well.
Yeah, I guess your first step to this has to be computing which swing you can do that will safely clear all 7 salts.
Mm-hmm. You probably can't do a 7 salt in the ring and 4 throughput though. You might be able to grab it every 4 though. Grab a salt from the inside the ring.
Yeah, that's true. You could do a throughput, half throughput solve with salt all inside the Morse ring.
That would be fun. Alrighty, next up we have Paxton with a sum 4 solve. That is not many instructions at all.
Yeah, 1/6 T version of sum.
Oh, it
Paxton
got beaten
pointing
by the
out
top
that
sum solves. Oof.
some of the best sum solves had a better sum 4 than this.
Sum 4 is, sum, but you add in instructions as well. Oh, the sum 4 for this one? I have no idea the instructions because I didn't put it in the metric. You have to ask Paxton on that. Oh, right, they responded 580-ish. Yeah, next up we have Madmaster. Solved by Madmaster, called Pog Swing. Don't know what it actually is. Could probably rotate it. Would that fit better? Barely. Oh. Wait a minute. Oh, that swing. Right, you can do that.
Oh, passing the 2 objects from destination to source and backwards with a 3-length arm.
Yeah,
like
that's barely possible. I wonder if we can actually launch Cheat Engine to watch that in slow motion.
Cheat engine speed 0.4.
0.0.
So...
Nah, she's just trying to slow it down in Cheat Engine for a nice,
yeah.
dramatic moment.
Ooh.
It has more clearance than you would think, just given the fact that you're taking something from its destination to its source.
Yeah. 3 radius is larger than you think.
Pog swing indeed.
Alright, next up we have a solved by Mr. Puzzle. Overlap sum.
I didn't know what else to call it.
Oh.
Mr. Puzzle's true sum winner.
What does arm 1 do?
It prevents a crash and lets the atoms get created every other one. If you move the arm, you'll see what happens.
Yeah, I see, because it's doing odd cycles, one to
Yeah.
enemies rocks, evens the other. Is there a way to use a salt input to desync it instead? Like,
I didn't
stack the
look into
animismus so that if like one animismus then salt input then the other, and then the salt input gets disposed anyway? I don't think that.
Maybe you might be able to rotate them so that the 2 animismus share salt, and then that salt has to be split between the 2. Because the salt
True.
can double proc, but the
True.
glyphs can't.
Yeah, cool idea.
Yeah. Overlap is fun. And with this one, you don't need to. With this puzzle, you don't need to like hack in extra inputs because you have a lot of them
They're already there.
for convenience purposes. But yeah, that would be all of our showcases, and that would also be the end of the stream. So, let me just talk about the puzzles that we have coming up next again. So the ongoing puzzle currently is radio receivers. It's a pure ejection puzzle for cycles and also tracks plus instructions. I'm excited to see both solves from both metrics. Cycles area. Yeah, it's cycles area, and then track plus instructions. Mostly track plus instructions. Hateful puzzle. But yeah, I'm interested in seeing track plus instructions because I feel like this puzzle would bring lots of creative solves for that metric. And yeah, there's also the competition puzzle that's ongoing, Transmutation CX, Transmutation 110. Yeah. So that we have to look forward to. The deadline is April 1st, funnily enough.
One moment.
Okay, one moment. Yeah, roommate just asked me if I wanted lunch. But yeah, that's the puzzle. And that's the stream, so that should be all. Thank you all for coming, and we'll see you all next Tuesday actually, because next Monday, because I don't have time for a stream next weekend, so it's been delayed for a few days, and that's the deadline as well. But yeah, thank you all for coming, and hope you all enjoy the next few weeks. See ya.
See you next time.
So yeah,
Take care.
thank you.